Good evening. I'm sorry, but I know how to get started. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to adjourn closed session and reconvene the open session of the April 13th, 2026 regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. Our first item will be out on action taken in closed session. So closed session item A, the board took action in closed session tonight by unanimous vote to approve a settlement agreement with the parents of a student in exchange for a total not to exceed $1,800 in funding for privately incurred educational expenses. Closed session item B, separation agreement, employee ID number 2163. The board took action in closed session today to accept the resignation of employee ID 2163 effective May 29th, 2026. The board vote was unanimous. Closed session item B, separation agreement, employee ID 1548. The board took action in closed session today to accept the resignation of employee ID 1548 effective June 30th, 2026. The vote was unanimous. Okay, now we will move into the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now we'll move into the fun stuff, which is our recognitions this evening.
All right, well, thank you. All right. Well, welcome to our 25-26 Teacher of the Year and Classified School Employee of the Year recognition ceremony. And I'd like to welcome our school board directors and all of you, our friends, family, and fans of each of our 12 incredible, the best of what Orinda has to offer. I think I took attendance and you're all here. So with that, I'll introduce each honoree from each school site. Please join me up here at the podium, along with your administrator. The administrator will say a few words about each honoree, and then you'll receive a certificate. Teacher of the Year, the CSEY plaques are currently already on display, so thank you, Kelly Cooper, for getting that all organized. And at the end of the recognition ceremony, honorees will join for a group photo. And at this time, why don't I introduce Janet Riley from Orinda City Council, and she's just going to say a few words about some certificates that she has to share as well.
On behalf of the mayor, Iverson, she couldn't be here, and we want to share in this celebration and this joy that we are in recognizing our 12 superstars from our school district. And we have a recognition certificate for each of them that I'll read one so that we don't have to do it 12 times. Certificate of recognition. This certificate is hereby awarded to one of the 12 in recognition of the award of whatever it is.
Excellent. Right, thank you. So let's start our process here. Classified Employee and Teacher of the Year. So can I please have Alan Cercato Zamora come on up? Stand right here. All about Alan. Alan is the master of HVAC technology. He's a natural problem solver. His quiet personality should never be misunderstood, as he's always thinking about how best to solve the next challenge at hand. Alan is always willing to help everyone and has the interests of the district and students in mind. Alan is the one who keeps us warm when it's cool, and cool when it's hot. Congratulations. my applause. Thank you, Al. Thank you.
You had to do it.
Yeah. Two straws.
Two straws.
All right, Stephanie is an exceptional example of a team player. She advocates and supports so many students in our school. We're fortunate to have Stephanie in this role. She's so smart, motivated, kind, and always helpful. Stephanie is the living definition of a data-driven educator. She's committed to helping every teacher strengthen their ability to support every student. Congratulations.
To be able to speak on behalf of Sleepy Hollow, your original school in the. So in 2009, Sleepy Hollow struck gold when Stephanie joined the staff. She immediately began trailblazing a path of excellence and innovation. As a classroom teacher, Stephanie always led the charge, whether she was championing new technology or sharing effective reading strategies. She was always at the forefront, showing us that implementing new ideas can be the most exciting part of the job. Since 2017, Stephanie continued her trailblazing spirit with reading intervention as her focus, using data and a lot of heart to change countless lives. While we were lucky to have her at Sleepy Hollow, we are even more fortunate that her inspiration now reaches multiple sites. Congratulations, Stephanie. We are proud of your work, but we're really proud of you.
So we present. All right. Del Rey, Classified Employee and Teacher of the Year. Del Rey will come on up. Let's start with Geraldine Socorro de Guzman. Geraldine, she is super knowledgeable, super kind, and super patient. Geraldine's calm presence, reliability, and positive energy uplift the entire Del Rey school community. The impact of Geraldine's work is lasting, as seen in the student growth, school partnerships, and a place where all learners are supported. Geraldine is deeply appreciated for her patience and willingness to assist in all student situations. Thank you and congratulations, Geraldine.
In addition to all of those things, it is definitely my pleasure to recognize Ms. Geraldine Guzman as our Classified Employee of the Year at Del Rey. I've had the opportunity to see Geraldine in her role as a support aide in her special education department over these last couple of years. And I actually think this year marks where you have worked across all grade levels, PK all the way up to fifth grade. She is a patient cheerleader for students, supporting the growth of the whole child, every student that she works with. And most importantly, all the students feel safe with Ms. G. I know they trust her to support them with their learning and provide the patience and care they need to navigate the school day. In our special day class program, I see students who communicate in really different ways, show their trust by either staying close to her, reaching for her hand, using eye contact, and also engaging with her when she sings and dances throughout the day. Geraldine, with your support, students will stay confident and ready to do their best learning. So on behalf of Del Rey, congratulations.
All right, and now we have Sean Brennan. Come on up. All about Sean. Sean is a great leader, shares best practices, and promotes a strong school culture at Del Rey. In his classroom, he fosters a safe, inclusive, and positive place where students feel valued. Sean is a true team player. His involvement across our school and district really show how much he cares. By just walking in his classroom, you can instantly tell that students love being in his classroom. Congratulations, Sean.
In addition to all of those things, at a recent professional development day, Sarah asked us all to think about what makes us great. I don't know, Sean, what you said about yourself, but I did ask your students what they think makes you a great teacher. Here's some of the things that they said. They said that he's really patient and respects us all. He's chill. He's fifth graders. He shares pictures of his dog Pierre. He doesn't just give us the answer, he helps us figure it out on our own. And he takes our ideas into consideration, like he listens to us. It's so those words really reflect the kind of educator that Sean is. As a fifth grade teacher, he elevates student voice and builds a classroom where students genuinely feel respected in his room. He creates an environment where students can be themselves and develop confidence as learners. That sense of agency, as we all know, is really important as our students go in transition to middle school and students leave feeling prepared. Sean, the way you see and support and believe in your students makes them feel great about themselves, and that is one of the many things why you are a great educator. So congratulations.
Cheers. Okay, and Glorietta, you can come on up. Classified Employee and Teacher of the Year for Glorietta. Let's start with Jenna Tippy. All about Jenna. Jenna is a tremendous asset to Glorietta and to the students she supports in her role. She also always makes sure to share the little and big wins that her student experiences. Jenna is not only an excellent aide, but a partner and teammate in this classroom space as well. Jenna is steady, calm, and reliable. She is just the best. Congratulations.
And Jenna, Glorietta is so proud to recognize you as our Classified Employee of the Year. As one of our SSAs, you're deeply committed to putting your students' needs first, providing thoughtful one-on-one support, while also balancing guidance for independence. You're a true team player. You're always stepping in to support staff and students wherever needed on campus. And you probably win the Spirit Award for our Spirit Days. Your flexibility, dedication, and care make a meaningful impact every day, and you're greatly valued by our entire school community. And this is so deserving, so congratulations for that.
All right. And Stephanie Mandelman, please. Words about Stephanie. Stephanie has that perfect blend of strong teaching skills together with warmth, patience, and a deep understanding of how young children learn. Stephanie makes it a point to know each as much as she can about every student in her class. And from the voices of her students, I love Mrs. Randleman. She's really nice. She's going to have a baby. I like when we get to play math games. She does a really good job at being a teacher.
Stephanie, our school Glorietta is so proud to have you represent our school as Teacher of the Year this year. As one of our first grade teachers, you're deeply committed to putting your students first. You make thoughtful decisions based on your individual needs. Whenever you want a thought partner, you always are eager to come and talk to me or one of your teammates to help to make sure that your students are super supported. You're a true team player, you're collaborative and supportive and always willing to go above and beyond for your students, colleagues, and families. And your classroom creates a nurturing and engaging classroom where students feel valued and inspired to learn. And you're truly appreciated by our entire community. So congratulations, Stephanie.
Sleepy Hollow. Classified Employee of the Year, Andrew Zarowski, come on up. So a bit about Andrew. Andrew is an excellent special services assistant and all-around asset to Sleepy Hollow School. Andrew is really great with students. He's well organized and calm when it's needed most. Mr. Z can be found anywhere on campus, helping anyone and anything. His chill vibe is definitely from the voices of students. He's really nice. His teaching methods help me improve. I've known him a long time.
Pick up where the chill left off. The chill factor really does run high with Mr. Z. He is as cool, calm, and collected as they come. Students and staff are naturally drawn to his calm demeanor, but what truly sets him apart is his incomparable ability to connect. From the minute he steps on campus, he's always looking for that gentle nudge, the perfect connection that sparks a student's next aha moment. What also sets him apart is that he makes his work look effortless and genuinely fun. We are forever grateful for Mr. Z's mission to meet students exactly where they are and help them move forward. Congratulations, Mr. Z. We all aspire to be as chill as you are.
And can I please have Elizabeth Sarika? Elizabeth truly connects with every student in a magical way. I love that she gets right down and it's eye to eye with students when she addresses a concern, challenge, or a worry. She's there long hours before and after school doing whatever it takes to ensure her classroom is a perfect place for children to learn. From the voice of a student, she always makes sure we're having fun while learning. Congratulations.
Also, all right, Elizabeth, you are a thinker with a capital T. Every idea you share is born out of deep reflection, and your insights elevate our conversations and move us all forward. You often use the word magical to describe your students and those breakthrough moments in the classroom, but the truth is, the magic is with you. From the joy of delivering TK curriculum to the amazing learning environment you create, you are constantly finding new ways to inspire our youngest learners. As years of excellence across many grade levels, you have found your true spark in TK. We are thrilled to celebrate you tonight. Congratulations, Elizabeth. You are the magic.
All right, Wagner Ranch. The request gets late coming up. We'll begin with our classified employee of the year, Nancy Hall, please step up. A bit about Nancy. Nancy is very skilled and talented SSA. She combines patience, consistency, and firmness with genuine kindness and warmth, all wrapped into one. She's recognized as an SSA leader by her colleagues and dependable presence within the Wagner community. Nancy is distinguished by her exceptional qualities and strong professionalism. Congratulations, Nancy.
It's a pleasure to speak on Nancy's behalf tonight. We're really happy to honor her as our classified member of the year from Wagner Ranch. The first thing that comes to mind when I think about Nancy Hall is her passion, her compassion, her empathy. And I think that in today's day and age, if you could just bottle that up and give everybody in the world a dose of what Nancy has, it would be a much better world, a much better place. And so thank you for just being you, that joy, that passion, but also flexibility. Many of you probably know what a wobble stool is in our classrooms, which is, for a young learner, older learner, I hate it myself, who doesn't like to sit still. You kind of move and groove with the child. Nancy moves and grooves with the students that she serves, with our whole school community that she serves. She is ultimately flexible, and that benefits our children, that benefits her colleagues, that benefits me quite a bit. The last thing, well, not the last thing, but another element that I'd like to lift up and celebrate about Nancy is when you see her interacting with students and with staff, you see the smile and you hear the laughter. And the students as well are reflecting that. And it's so joyful and it's so lovely that the students find safe harbor with you. And so many, even though they're not directly assigned to you in the SSA role, find you as their island at Wagner Ranch. And they count on you for your love, your support, your mentorship. And then the final thing I'd like to lift up is her teamwork. Nancy's not just a support to a student, but she's a support to the staff. to the parent community. I know so many depend on you and rely on you, and you do that in such a subtle and graceful way. So we're just very proud of you. We're very proud to call you part of our Wagner Ranch family. Congratulations, Nancy.
Congratulations. Right. Yeah, Sharice Gutierrez. A bit about Sharice. Sharice brings deep knowledge and genuine passion to her teaching, which is evident in every lesson. She keeps students actively engaged by using a variety of approaches to ensure concepts are clearly understood. Sharice creates a positive classroom environment through her kindness, care, energy, and sense of fun. She consistently encourages her students to do their very best, and they do. Congratulations.
Wagner Ranch is very proud to recognize and celebrate Sharice Gutierrez as our certificated member of the year. At a recent check-in with Sharice, I said, what should I know about you so I can best support you at school? And she said, I give this everything I have. I'm all in. I take it home with me. And I thank her family for that. And it was funny because I was reflecting on that. It's like, we know that Sharice. Everybody who works with Sharice and knows her practice knows that she's in 110%. And you really inspire all of us to do our best for our kids. Another element that I'd like to lift up and celebrate that Sharice brings to Wagner Ranch and all the students she serves is the ability to create, and remember this word, a magical community of belonging in her classroom. That should be no surprise. And I thought of an analogy for what the feeling is like when you walk into Mrs. Gutierrez's classroom. You all remember the classic Wizard of Oz. I'm not pre-Wicked days. Don't think classic Wizard of Oz. Think of whenever the film went from black and white to Technicolor. You remember that moment of like joy and like you can't believe in this magic. That's the way it feels when you're a student in Mrs. Gutierrez's classroom. You really feel like she has created this magical dimension of learning for you to participate in. And it is such a wonderful treat for our students. But in addition to that, now I need you to think Silicon Valley tech CEO, Sheryl Sandberg, because she is down to business, driving, teaching, and learning in an incredibly rigorous and high-level way. Every second is dialed in, differentiated, and made just to meet every student where they're at. And it's quite wonderful to have those two dimensions going on, where you feel like you're in a magical world of learning, but also you have such high quality and amazing teaching and learning. So those two things are incredible. And then back to the beginning where I said, you inspire us because you give so much. And I think that's what we all look to you for. You set the example. You take the initiative and you do it and you make it work for our kids and you make it and you take it to the extra level. So ultimately, we're very proud that Sharice helps our students find the yellow brick road at Wagner Ranch. Congratulations, Sharice.
Right. We move under the idea. Like, please step on your top. All right. And can I please have Michaela Thomas come on? Two words about Michaela. In 4 words. Fun, energetic, super kind, and helpful. Maybe 5 words. Michaela is very creative. She comes up with ideas at the drop of a hat and is always ready to start the day with positive energy. Her commitment to the students is unwavering. She's a great problem solver and seeks solutions whenever challenges arise. Michaela is a team player. She adapts well to change as the same job often requires. We are so lucky to have her on our OIST. Congratulations.
It is an absolute pleasure and honor to honor Michaela today as a new principal this year, to come in and have certain faces light up the room the second you walk into your office. That's always Michaela. So I am truly grateful. All of this is so true. what I want to say about Michaela is that you are an exceptional human being who works unwavering for our students and our student population on this campus. It has been an absolute treasure to have you a part of the Bulldog staff. You are deeply involved in our campus and you consistently demonstrate what it means to go above and beyond to meet all diverse needs of all of our students, including your own. Whether it's providing academic support, offering the overwhelming amount of encouragement that you have as a person, or stepping in wherever you are needed, you approach your work with care, professionalism, and so much heart. In addition to your role in the classroom, you serve as a coach on our campus. You help our students grow not only physically, but mentally by instilling confidence, resilience, and what the definition of teamwork is. We often see Michaela going above and beyond for every one of our students, whether it's in the classroom or out on the court. Her positive impact was felt across our school community, and we are incredibly grateful to have you as a Bulldog.
All right. We have Susie Kitch. Please come up and join us. Words about Susie. Susie's unwavering dedication and deep compassion as an educator is truly heartfelt. When she has an opinion, we know it. Susie has dedicated countless hours to ensure that OIS is not only a place of learning, but also a safe and welcoming community where every student feels valued and supported. With the heart of a Bulldog, Susie advocates for every student, never shying away from doing what is needed to help every student succeed. Congratulations.
So I am honored to celebrate Susie Kitch today. I will also say as a brand new principal to have you come in with all of the knowledge and history you have has made this a fantastic year for all of OIS. But I want to talk about not just your unwavering dedication, but your compassion as an educator. You don't only have the heart of a Bulldog, but you have the grit of a Bulldog. And that shows up in how you advocate for every one of your students. You don't shy away from doing what's right, and you don't shy away from making it an example for all of us to live up to as the expectation of what it means to be a Bulldog. You have dedicated countless hours to ensuring that our school is not only a place of learning, but a safe and welcoming community for all of our students. I know how important it is for you to have our students feel valued and supported every day on our campus. From your efforts in creating the Green Team, from bringing the spelling bee, for your unwillingness to continue to bring programs to support all of our students so that they can thrive not only in the classroom, but outside of the classroom. You also can see that in your Green Team that is out and about on campus telling us how to handle ourselves. But you also work tirelessly to create powerful assemblies, such as our Holocaust survivor, who continues to make an impact on our campus. And as the words of a colleague of yours, this recognition is long overdue.
Congratulations to everyone. So at the final few minutes here, we want to move into our classified district employee of the year. And we have a new recognition where the recipient will receive the Orinda Golden Apple. With that, can I please have Geraldine Socorro de Guzman come on up? So feel free to open that up.
Yes.
Congratulations. And next, District Teacher of the Year, can we please have Stephanie Sato? Congratulations. And our first recipient of the Orinda Golden Apple.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And with that, I want to thank everyone for being here, and what a celebration. Our teachers are doing such a fantastic job, so we have spent a few moments together today to recognize that. And with that, I'd like to conclude and just thank all of you for everything you do every single day. We really appreciate you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Brian, and congratulations to all of you. There's really no amount of recognition would do enough to show your appreciation and admiration for all that you do for all of our kids every day. Really cannot sum it up, but thank you, all deserving. We really, really appreciate all the work that you do. And thanks everyone who came today. It's really, really nice to fill this room. This is one of the best board meetings of the year by far.
Yeah, I would just like to echo that. Just congratulations to all of the honorees, and just thank you to all of the other educators that are, here supporting our honorees, because without all of you, we wouldn't be sitting here and our kids wouldn't be receiving the, excellent education that they are, both academically and the social emotional experience that they're having. I'm out, my kids are out of Orinda schools. I still have one more at Miramani, but, I see quite a few teachers here that, taught my kids, like Stephanie. So I'm a little emotional. Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations to you all, and thank you, families and friends, for coming, and colleagues. My son had Mr. Brennan last year, and Michaela. She was an amazing basketball coach, and just like all the effort that she and time that she put with those boys. Thank you so much. I mean, and Jenna. So I feel very lucky that I know a lot of you and how much you have touched me and my kids. This is amazing. Thank you.
I guess I will just add on to this, and my kids have had Sarika and several of the other faces I see around here. So thank you for all of that. But it is just also, I think, just such a privilege for us to kind of get this glimpse into what is going on the campuses every day. Obviously, we get to know all of you through sometimes through our kids or through some of the other meetings and the visits and everything like that. But this is just like such a fun opportunity for us to celebrate you, the amazing work that you do, and hopefully you're feeling our level of appreciation, and in some cases wonder and magic for what goes on at the school sites and in the classroom. So thank you for all that.
Thank you so much. So in conclusion, we'd like our honorees to come on up so we can have a picture together. That would be great. Here with the board. Yeah.
I know.
Great.
Yeah, if anybody else wants to step up and take a photo, please do. Brian, you're doing good.
You're
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay, so reconvene again. Before we go on to our next item, I'm going to correct a mistake I made in the readout language earlier for closed session item J. The board took action in closed session tonight by a unanimous vote to approve a settlement agreement with parents of a student in exchange for a total not to exceed $9,500 in funding for privately incurred educational services. Right, so now moving on to item 6, which is our public comment period. At a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, the public may comment on items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the governing board. For items on the agenda, the public may comment at the time the board considers the agenda item. For items not on the agenda, the public may comment under item 6A, public comment. The Board of Trustees requests that individuals who would like to address the Board of Trustees on an item do so by filling out a request to address the OUSD school board card and turning it into the superintendent prior to the agenda item. Cards are available at the meeting. Comments are limited to not more than 3 minutes. Groups are asked to limit their comments to a total of 5 minutes. The board shall limit the total time of public comment to 20 minutes. To comply with the Brown Act, the board may listen to comments from the speakers, but can neither discuss nor take action on the issues presented. Is there any public comment?
There's no public comment.
Okay, so that will take us to our first discussion item. First one being an OUSD counseling and wellness update. Thanks for being here.
Okay, yes. I'm sad that everybody left because it's a great presentation to see. Well, luckily, we do have some viewers online, but so we bring to you our counselors representing all 5 schools. So our wellness counselors from elementary and our counselors, and this is their annual presentation. So get over to you.
We are identified as our spokespeople. Our rest of our teams can jump in, but we thought maybe that would be easier than having a million different threads and voices jumping in at the same time. But questions, of course, can be fielded with all of us, and they can chime in as they would choose.
Let me know when to go.
Here's all of us. 1 elementary school counselor at each school site and 3 counselors at OIS. So we will talk today, we're going to talk mostly in the tiers around our work and how it fits into the MTSS tiers. Tiers are broken into tier 1, which is universal, and all students receive universal support in tier 1, and that is supposed to target around 80%. Tier 2 is targeted interventions that have been determined through a screening process for 10 to 15% of students needing those additional support services. And tier 3 is our smallest tier for just those individualized support at the very top. People listen, they looked at it. Okay, so examples within tier 1, school-wide expectations, synchronizing those things, making sure students are aware of those expectations, posters, common language, things like that. Positive acknowledgement systems, we all have different ones with cutesy little names that go with our mascots, and we can all have our little things about it. SEL lessons in the classroom that we do in slightly different ways depending on our school's needs. Character trait ed, assemblies and events, drop-ins and check-ins. All students, of course, are able to access drop-ins and check-ins with wellness counselors and OIS counselors, all of us counselors. Different kinds of recess support, open wellness center time at different periods throughout the day or the week, different kinds of awareness weeks, and then also certain amounts of staff training all under tier 1. So tier 1 highlights within elementary, whole class lessons. Some of us push into all the grade levels, some of us push into the lowest grade levels, and we do other things in the upper grade levels. Community circles, different types of leadership programs. We do different things specifically at recess too, and we have different names that we call some of our tier 1 recess programs. Things like that, open wellness center time in the elementary level, and engagement and awareness weeks.
Perfect. Yeah, and at middle school, we also give some lessons with our home-based academies, which are kind of like targeted kind of sensitive topics that us counselors provide and record. And then every grade level will watch them, and sometimes there's activities otherwise or afterwards to engage further. Something we started this year was tabling events for our wellness center that we're going to try and do a lot more next year, where we're actually just going out at lunch and brunch, where we either follow up a home-based academy or we talk about other topics that we think would be relevant. We have wellness academies, which range from fun academies. Sometimes we do things relating to certain topics. And then community circles is another thing we started, which I think we're going to really push forward doing a lot more next year, where I'll kind of allude to it later at the end of the slides. But that's one of the things when we notice a theme. So one particular example is we noticed that some students were kind of using racist language. And then so we created a whole lesson to go into our 6th grade classes and kind of talk about that. So that's just one example. Just like them, we have our wellness center open all day, every period, brunch and lunch as well. We do progress monitoring, where we check everyone's grade level or their grades literally weekly. And then we also have positive behavior acknowledgement through our citizenship awards and our positive passes or PAW passes. And then tier 2, so just going from tier 1, which was universal, that should be done in like the classroom. Every single student should be receiving that type of stuff. Targeted is just if maybe a student needs a little more support than the classroom has to offer. Some things like group counseling, peer socialization groups, there's check and check out systems, restorative practices, behavior supports, attendance and engagement. And then we also obviously meet with parents or guardians. And then there's, we consult and collaborate with stakeholders and team. That could look like talking to the guardians, it could be talking to teachers and everyone else involved.
SRT, SST process. We have that
Perfect.
too. So we get from tier 1 to tier 2 through a couple of different processes that we're kind of honing in on and we're really going to tackle next year of really like making those systems really cohesive and consistent across the schools. One process is the SRT process, where students can be referred by their teacher to have a meeting with the tier 2 interventionist or the principal and the teacher to discuss what support may be needed. Different types of screeners. We are adopting and kind of piloting different types of screeners right now. Our 2nd step curriculum has 2 different types of screeners. So we have done some piloting or some pilot light maybe of some of those screeners and seeing, you know, where are the gaps? How do we need to modify this? How can we make this the best that we need it to be? And how can it more streamlined fit into our tier 2 services and how to respond? So that's one of the things we talked about in one of the MTSS trainings that we've gone to recently is the decision rule process of where do your screeners go and what kinds of answers in your screeners lead to what kinds of next steps. And so we are excited to really hone in on that next year. And then we also, some of us use things that are, we call like a pulse survey, where students respond to certain questions. Ours is 5 or 6 questions that go to all of our K through 5th, I think it goes out to them. And it's those questions that are things like, I can complete my work independently. I have a safe adult at home. I have friends at school. I like coming to school. So we can also operate with that as a data point to determine some of our other additional services. If a student feels they don't have friends at school, then okay, are they a candidate for a lunch bunch? What are the other pieces of context and the other data points that can lead to that service? And then we are this year using a little bit more in a structured way with our 2nd step curriculum because they launched in August. They launched tier 2 group curriculum. Previously, they had the tier 1 lessons, which are the ones the teachers use in the classrooms. And then in August, they launched tier 2 groups across 3 different curriculum categories: emotion, thoughts, and feelings, relationships and pro-social skills, and executive functioning. And then there's a curriculum for K through 2 and a curriculum for 3 through 5. So we've also been using that and seeing what that looks like. And are there supplemental gaps where we need to identify some other pieces to fit into that? And then other things in elementary tier 2 are check in, check out at recess or at the beginning and end of the day are other highlights.
Sweet. I'm kind of tagging on that. We do a lot of similar things. And one of the things I think OIS has really blossomed this year was our SRT team. We tried to start it last year, and then this year we really kind of found our groove. And just kind of what you said, teachers and any staff member can kind of refer students and then we'll talk about them. But we're also doing what's called our SRT Academy. So we do the progress monitoring, and then we see if anyone has a D or an F or any missing assignments. 1 week, we'll tag them for Academy, or we'll put them into a different teacher's academy if we don't have enough space. And then we have some data points, which I'll show you, I think, after this slide. Some other types of support, though, in tier 2 would be like our 504 and SST plans. We do some behavioral supports, check-in and check-outs. I kind of wanted to piggyback on your screener thing. That is, I think, our big project for next year as well. And we're going to try and get some vertical alignment as well, so that the students in elementary schools are going to be kind of familiar with this process when they move to middle school, and when we can really look at the trends and the themes, and we can definitely focus on refining our proactiveness rather than our reactiveness, which I think is really important.
Okay, so here is a snapshot of our, what we call our consent-based services, meaning students were referred first where a parental informed consent went home and was signed and returned. So this can look like individual counseling. It can look like group counseling, small group counseling. This is the breakdown across elementary. So you can see it is, besides TK, it is a kind of close, mostly close. You know, there's no super, super big chunks. First grade I see is a little bit bigger of a chunk, and at least at Glorieta we've synchronized with the win time, and first grade has win time twice, and the other schools have it once a day, and so that's part of my first grade accessing a little bit more in that way, but it is otherwise a pretty even split across elementary, which was interesting to see.
Yeah. And then here at OIS, we have our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and as you can tell, it's 6th grade and 8th grade seem to kind of be heavily outweighing the 7th grade, and that just kind of happens because with our 6th grade, we do our meet and greet, so we literally meet every single one of our incoming 6th graders, and then 8th graders are always super nervous about high school. We're making sure that they're staying on track, that their grades are doing well, that they're emotionally ready for it. They're trying to hone in their friendships before getting to high school, things like that. But yeah, this has helped us show that we're going to find some really specific ways to make sure that we are seeing our 7th graders as well. But we've talked amongst us counselors, and we feel like those 7th graders that we meet are the ones that we met in 6th grade, recognizing they needed a little additional support, and they kind of stayed on our radar. So it's kind of by design, almost on accident, that you meet all the 6th graders, you learn which ones you need to kind of check in with more frequently, and then 8th grade, it ramps back up to needing support more across the board. This other data point that I wanted to share, because I said I think we did really well with our SRT team this year, is last year, our 24 and 25 school year, it was heavily outweighed in our SEL check-ins. And then this year it's almost 50-50 because we did put a lot more, lack of a better way of saying it, direct intervention to make sure that we're checking our academic supports as well. And I just thought, I didn't think it'd be that dramatic, to be honest with you. When I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, that SRT Academy is working. Then tier 3, and that's just individualized. So that's really when a student needs more, I guess, longer individual support, things like individual counseling, whether it's check-in weekly, sometimes we have to check in daily for a little bit, usually following a crisis intervention. And yeah. Tier 3, feel free to add anything else if I'm forgetting anything.
Yeah, just the clarification, I guess, if for those who don't know, individual counseling appeared both in tier 2 and tier 3. And the reason that is that because the one in tier 2 is for brief individual counseling. So 6 to 8 weeks, somewhere in that range. And the individual counseling in tier 3 might be a little bit longer than that, as if we're connecting students from a crisis to outside support, we're not going to be like, well, that was your 6th time. You don't have an outside connection yet, but here we go. We're all done. You know, of course, we're going to like match that need, right? So that's why sometimes it can be a little bit longer, but those are for those really few and specific cases where that is absolutely the need, not just because something accidentally ran on longer than we meant to.
About how many students fall in that category?
I don't know off the top of my head. We can get back to you with that number. Yeah. Looking forward, so some of the things we have recently been able to go to some great trainings. We went to one with the county on MTSS and screening and progress monitoring, and then we went to one by Solution Tree in Sacramento, and that was all on MTSS, specifically the behavior side of MTSS. The other one was both academic and behavior, and this one really focused on the behavior side. And that was amazing and really eye-opening, and we brought back some amazing things that we can implement going into next year. And some of those things are along the alignment of behavior expectations, so making sure those, you know, each of our school sites have slightly different ways of saying, you know, be safe, be kind, be respectful, right? Those different things that we have, but making sure we're really aligned within the school. Our staff all knows what that means. Our students all know what that means. Connecting all of those things together and how that relates to the other supports. Getting our screeners in place and making sure we have alignment in the screening process, whatever that looks like, which screener we're using, what are the decision rules, what does it lead to?
honing in a little bit more on exactly which SEL curriculums we're using, how is it going with second step, are there supplemental gaps of different things that we need to add in there, and then progress monitoring within that screening process. Within the screening, having also the progress monitoring, so we know students who need to stay in that intervention, intensify the intervention, or can be reduced on the intervention. And I think they'll look different at the different age, different elementary versus OIF, but
right?
categorically, these are our goals, aligned goals, and the vertical alignment, like Travis said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if we talked really quick or.
You did it.
I don't have to set the stopwatch.
I know you did. We're at 0 minutes still.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We'll just say, as I mentioned, this was an annual report that we started doing a couple of years ago. I appreciate the integration of and all these counselors. We have tried to highlight different things in different presentations. So if you notice, the focus now, it's on tiers and systematizing it across the district. That's what we wanted to highlight this year. But I'm sure they are happy to answer questions about anything in the presentation or related to counseling.
Anybody want to jump in?
Well, I'm just so happy that we have such a robust counseling program at the middle school and the elementary school level. And this was a great presentation to kind of highlight all of that. I did have some questions.
Sure.
I was curious for, as you were presenting, I had questions and then you were able to answer some of it. So the one part where you're talking about how you have community circles now for 6th grade and how you're, I guess, going to start at the 5th grade level with some of the issues that you've been seeing at 6th grade to see how to resolve it before it gets there. Is that right?
You guys should jump in as well.
Yeah.
I think Travis said 7th to 6th, so backtracking within the middle school environment. We have community circles. I'm not involved in them yet. It's mostly a teacher-led practice that I sometimes dabble into, and I would love to be more involved as one of my goals for next year. But yeah, that was, I think, what was.
Yeah, there might have been 2 separate thoughts. I said
Okay.
vertical alignment in regards to something else, but that specifically is we were just more focused on making sure we get it in our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, because sometimes we do only target a certain grade because it takes a lot of manpower and time. But we want to make sure that we're not just focusing on getting just the 6th graders because it's the first year, and then
Right.
it carries out, but we want to make sure we're targeting each year. And we're hoping by having some screeners for next year as well, that we can really see what specifically where the demand is and integrate it a little more flawlessly than just kind of creating things from scratch. And we'll have a built system to hopefully last us multiple years. Yeah.
Because how you mentioned there was some racism in 6th grade. How about talking to 5th graders
Yeah.
and seeing
100%.
before
Yeah.
it got there?
Yeah.
I'm sure they're doing something that's doesn't necessarily community circles for that, but I can attest to it.
And we're trying to focus in 5th grade too, a little bit more middle school readiness at the end of the year as we get ready. And then we collaborate. We try to reach out to Heather and Travis and Michelle and say, what does this particular cohort really need an extra little boost on before they get into middle school? And we try to build some lessons like that in at the end. So I have a meeting coming up with all of 5th grade to touch on some things. So it would be some great reminders and reframes.
Yeah. And then I was just also curious, it sounds like you guys are able to tag students or identify students by observing them who needs extra support. I'm curious if parents also reach out and how much of that happens in terms, or is it mostly when you observe, you're able to observe at school and say, hey, these kids need support, or is it a mix?
Heather's question.
I would say it's a mix. It's predominantly done by us, looking at the kids' grades specifically, or if there's kids that we need to meet with social emotionally, we'll tag kids. But every time, I have a lot of different parent meetings, and I know these two do as well, Travis and Michelle. And so I will suggest them in meetings when we're talking with parents about whether tagging their kid for something social emotionally or for they need extra support with the organization and missing assignments. So I feel like we get it predominantly from us, from teachers, and then parents will be talking one-on-one.
But just to add to that, we also get I get a decent amount of emails of parents being like, it could go from, hey, a grandparent passed away, can you please check on my students? And then sometimes that does turn into, oh, they have a lot more to talk about than just
Yes.
their grandparents. They do have some stuff that neutral adults talking to them can go a long way.
But
And
just this past week, I had 2 teachers refer 2 families or to me specifically for help with missing assignments and organization that weren't on our DF list because they might have had like 4 or 5 missing assignments, but they still had a B in the class. So we kind of look at not only just the grade of the DF, but also the number of assignments that they do have.
We also use our like historical knowledge, so if a second grader is now in 3rd grade and that 3rd grade teacher isn't seeing something, but I know a little bit of the history, we'll use that observation and that family connection to also identify and hear and pull from different referral sources.
Yeah, I would say with elementary, at least at Glorieta, I will bring a parent referral to our WIN planning, our long range planning meeting and kind of get the feedback from the teacher, kind of like see like, hey, like what are you noticing? Do we agree with some of this? Is this only happening outside of home? Is this the best way to address it? Is this the best use of time? And then we kind of come up with a plan from there to support the student.
I just had a question kind of following up on one of the neatest questions, which I think I ask almost every year, but just relates to, we're talking about moving from elementary to middle, but then these kids do go to the high school. So what the interaction is, in terms of connecting with the high school, kids that have continuing needs or things that are just surfacing or whatever it might be.
Sure. We have a meeting with
Every
the
year.
high school
Yes.
counselors at Miramani really soon.
Scheduled for the last, I think, Friday in April this month. Actually, no, we switched it. So it's the first week of May, Friday. But typically that meeting, we all get together and we meet personally, like person to person, just because we find it better to have that connection. So we talk about individual students that we feel either needs extra support with organization, extra support with the social emotional. We also talk with the wellness coordinator, Sal, over there to make sure that he's connecting too with all those same kids. So between the 4 counselors and Sal at the wellness, I feel like we do a really good job of making sure that they know the kids that they really need to be targeting and see.
And also too, we ask, or the counselors also let us know what they're seeing with like the current freshmen on like, hey, what are things that we can do better to help support and prepare them for high school? Yeah, and then also we do the where we take our 8th graders for like the end of January too. So we're also like with admin too, setting that up and partnering in that way too.
Yeah, we got really positive feedback from our current freshman class, from the counselors, just basically saying that whatever you guys are doing over there, you're doing a great job because the kids are coming in, they're really nice kids, they're working hard, like they just didn't have as many, I guess, behavioral issues going on as well as this year. So they just said that they were complimentary. It was really nice to hear that. So we get the good feedback too, not just what we can do better.
And occasionally we can always call the counselors over there.
Oh, yeah,
So sometimes-
they call us throughout the school year asking us questions about different kids.
Yeah, hey, the students popping up, do you have any information for me?
Yeah.
That's great, thank you. And then my other question just related, this is a great presentation. I love how this program has developed over, the last few years. It's really grown quite a lot, but just how as a team you all connect and meet and try to decide what these new initiatives are that you want to push out.
From elementary to middle.
Well, or within elementary and within middle or just across the whole team.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so we meet as elementary, we try to meet once a month and sometimes we meet in meet in other ways or other places at a training or a conference and we touch base and sync up there. And then we meet with AIDA and OIS once a month. And we're able to have just a full big chunk of time to just discuss collaboration and things we need to decide or decisions we need to make, feedback we need to give to make things run more smoothly and be more efficient and effective. And that's been really nice this year. Having that time all together has been great, I think, for making the programs more synchronous.
MPD days.
And PD, yeah, we collaborate on PD days as well, which is
And
great.
there's an occasional time where one of the counselors will call one of us or we'll call one of them because of family issues and collaboration that are happening from each school to our school. Yeah, so that happens as well.
And it helps we all like each other too.
Did you do anything? Yeah, I did actually, sorry. I was just curious to know, not that there are necessarily more resources out there, but if there was more capacity, like what are the things, maybe there's one answer for the elementary and one at the middle school, like you would do if there were, more hours in the day or more people or more budget or whatever.
That's an interesting question. I would make myself be in more places at once, like teleportation would be great.
No, yeah, you can even think about it in the range, if it's like one of the rows of the pyramid or something else,
It'd be nice to push in the classroom more
I was
in
gonna say
the
the same
elementary
thing.
or middle school
With
level.
some
Like,
curriculum so we can do it
Yeah.
very productively. It's always nice. We're pretty good at popping into classrooms just to make ourselves visible, but going in with like specific lessons and having that time, but then we always fear we're taking away from teachers' times, especially with the 7 periods there.
and just having more of those intimate conversations. So like, one of the ones we always push in the classroom is when we were talking about suicide prevention. And it's more powerful, especially when you're talking about topics that sensitive. So like for all of our academies, it'd be really great to push in.
Following the sensitive topics, because it's nice to have adults not just talking to you from a screen, but then you can ask them the questions there, or you can kind of get that face to face. So then you can go, okay, maybe I'll approach them in their office and ask this question I have. Yeah,
Can I just add, one of you mentioned curriculum.
yeah. Somewhere out there.
That's one thing that, we have second step in elementary school, and they're developing and becoming more robust, like you heard in the tier 2 intervention programming. It's really not very robust at the middle school level. So our counselors, our middle school counselors, take in from different resources. So they have what's it called, Safe School Solutions? Not Vector Solutions,
Yeah.
I was trying not to use that.
Sorry.
Vector Solutions, then, because it sounds like yeah, right. Then also use some lessons that they really make based on other resources. So, which is great. We'd luckily we have them so they can build those lessons, but it'd be nice if we had this very standardized curriculum that's also vertically built. So that's one of the things that we're looking for.
I also think too, we were discussing like kind of the lessons we do is just like for all of middle school, like having it more honed in on like, this is 6th grade and then building up to 7th and then doing 8th. So that's also a thing.
We've seen a 6th grader and an 8th grader, they are
Different.
vastly different in maturity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the things also mentioned as screeners, you probably heard the word screener throughout every tier, and that has been a big focus. Sarah's done a lot of work around, as you know, DIBELS, screening and the literacy. We have STAR data for math. So this year, really, they're but really using the screeners at most of the elementaries, which is the second step screener. You heard about the referrals from parents, from teachers, sometimes from other counselors, but that's still a reactive, I know about this kid, so I'll refer them to you. What we want to make sure is that we catch those that are not getting referred, or if you may have, what we were finding in some data, originally, you have some teachers that refer freely to counselors and some that don't necessarily, either personality sometimes you're managing things in the classroom, different cohorts. So we just want to make sure there's a universal system of, we screen these students because sometimes some of them fall through the cracks. So then we can really systematically approach that intervention just like we do on the academic side. So that's the big push around screeners, and that's why they're trying out different screeners. So really moving towards system implementation.
I don't have much to add, so you guys answered most of my questions and all these were really helpful responses. I have 2, I guess. First is with respect to the wellness centers, which, well, I'll first say it's so great to have this as an annual report. I feel like I've been here since the beginning of the annual reports now.
Yes.
And like, it's just cohesive and it just can tell how much of a program is in place now. And that's to your credit. I think it's fabulous all the way around. For the wellness centers, I know you said they're open every day, all day at the middle school level. Are you able to quantify how many kids are coming through there daily, just on an average? And kind of what's the demographic? Are you seeing the same kids, multiple times a week, or is it really varied, or how are those being used?
At the middle school, I don't have the specific numbers off the top of my head as far as whether it's repeat visitors. I would argue it's usually repeat visitors. And then we do take note of that to make sure that we're not taking advantage of the wellness center breaks. If it's persisting past that, then we kind of push it to like, okay, we're going to do some check-ins now as a counselor, not just wellness. supervisor for academic because we're one of the wellness counselors, but we monitor the wellness center. Is there anything I'm missing to that question from y'all?
Well, in lunch and brunch, we keep it open. I would say generally it's kind of like the same students. We have some that trickle in. I've been noticing this year, I feel like we've been getting some more like one-offs, like I need a break and then go back to class. Like I feel like our students are now opening up and using that more.
Yeah.
Especially like today, for example, I feel like towards the end of the day, it starts to get a little bit more packed. Where I feel like when we first opened it, it was kind of like open, but nobody was using it. So I'm seeing an uptake in taking advantage of that service.
Yeah, newer students for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's as you said, you can tell that we're getting a little more confident in our counseling program. I think the students are getting more confident in recognizing that's a resource they can use for themselves, which is great because it is. And we try and encourage teachers too. Hey, instead of sending, this kid who's acting up in class to the principal's office, just take them to the wellness center for a quick break. And we kind of calm down, hopefully, and kind of talk them through it.
Yeah.
I've noticed a trend that kids are coming in later in the day. Like the morning seems to be a little bit after.
They too don't have to stay with it.
But I do think that kids are starting to feel more comfortable and knowing that there's a place to go and take a break. It's when kids come in and I meet with kids individually, I ask them that question. They're like, have you ever taken a break in our wellness center? And I usually know if they have or not, because I've seen them or I haven't seen them, but I'm not in there every day. But, and most kids are like, oh, well, I don't want to ask my teacher. Like, I don't want to get up in the middle of class. And so we talk and strategize about, after the lessons may be done and you need that break after that when everyone's doing their work for a little bit, or it's a quick partner work, that's the time to ask your teacher to take the break if you need it. So I think kids are just uncertain about when to take the break and are afraid to ask. That's the number one answer I've been getting from kids.
Can I say something? I just want to add that I think all of our hope is too that now that it's in elementary, that these kids are getting very used to how things work. And then how awesome that all different types of kids, because maybe a while back there was a certain type of kid that would drop into wellness centers or certain, group. So now I think that they're starting to understand how things work, and then they go to middle school and they get an idea again, and there's all different kind of groups that go. There is no certain kids are going. So then they'll be able to access that as well in high school. So I think as it grows and we all kind of align together, like, I got this. This is how this is a tool for me. Yeah. For anyone.
Continuity
my
and
hope.
normalization.
Normalization for sure.
Thank you. Let's see. I had a question, but you pretty much answered it, which was what accounts for the shift in at the middle school level, kind of more of an equal academic SEL counseling. It sounds like just better practices with identifying kids. Is that accurate?
Yeah, just kind of leveling it out because counseling is always adapting, it's evolving, you never know what the need is. And I think it's always nice to kind of reflect and see where we are using our energy and time and making sure that it is balanced and that we're meeting the needs. And I think it was nice to reflect on the data because of this meeting, to be honest, and see that we almost met at 50-50 because we were working really hard on the SRT, and even though it is time consuming to run a report and then tag a bunch of students on a Monday, we've been doing it diligently for months now. I don't even remember when we first started. I have my spreadsheet, but like in October, I have a spreadsheet of who we tagged and how many people got tagged multiple times for that SRT Academy. I don't know if that answers.
No, totally does. And I appreciate it. I think it's great that you're kind of looking out for all those different needs.
Yeah.
It's also been a support for the teachers too, because like some of those students we're tagging, right? It's not just one class, it's like multiple classes. So then leaning on us to talk with the student and also figure out a plan on like, hey, maybe your time's best with this teacher or just with us, and us knocking out some like missing assignments and stuff.
And when you just reminded me, sometimes, yes, we if a student needs to be, they're kind of struggling in a couple classes and we tag them for our SRT Academy, we're pretty good at printing out their missing assignments. And we highlight, like, this is the one you should focus on. Yeah, we prioritize, and then they can take that missing thing home. And then with some of my students, I think they've shared a practice. It's like, you should probably show your parents this, because I know they're not always checking Google Classroom or Aries.
Sometimes it's hard to figure out.
Especially from the parent portal, I don't know what's going on with that.
Yes. Perfect. No, thank you. And then just a suggestion to the extent possible, I think the transitions between elementary and middle, and then middle and high school have come to my attention frequently. Maybe it's the time of year, I don't know. But the fact that you are really thinking about that mindfully, but also prepping students, sounds like, and also meeting with counselors is fabulous. And I would think that'd be great to share with parents if it's not already. Like, this is what we're doing to prep for this transition to middle school. It's not just academic, we're doing this piece, or, also academic from you. And then same at the high school switch, because I think that there's some peace of mind in knowing that caring adult
That there's
is
a
thinking through
communication
that.
going.
Yeah.
And I think this year too, we've been really focused on the vertical alignment too with elementary school. That's kind of been a new theme this year. But the question would be how to roll that out.
I was just giving the suggestion.
Individually, when I talk to parents, whether it's transition from 5th to 6th or from 8th to 9th, but yeah, just figuring out ways like maybe a parent information.
Exactly.
Parent information through principal newsletters, through our newsletters, kind of as we highlight things. Back to school night, open house.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, because just like we want to meet every student's needs, sometimes parents don't reach out, so it'd be nice that they have that information even if they don't seek it out. Because we always get parents being like, I'm worried about my 8th grader who's going out to high school. We're like, don't worry, I already have them highlighted on my list to talk about.
I think that's one thing that makes the district exceptional. And most districts do not have this robust of a counseling department from elementary through middle. And that is really important.
But I think to your point, I don't know that all of our parents fully appreciate what we have.
Yeah. Behind the scenes.
When we survey the parents, actually wellness comes up or counseling support comes up as one of the highest, and appreciate that we have it, but they don't know the details of all the things. So I think how
They
do
don't
we
know what the
message that? Thank you, Ms. I'll just add to Katie, we are one of the few districts that has such a robust counseling. And it is constantly visible, and recognized by our parents, but really it is thank you so much. We just recognize outstanding group of teachers, individual and classified, but just want to say thank you for your work as well.
That you guys support us. Yes. Yeah. Just seeing what's happening in the districts around us with their counseling programs, it's sad and scary. So thank you.
Students support us. This remains a priority for me as a support member, so I appreciate all the work you do.
We appreciate it.
Thank
you
so much. There is no public.
Thank you. You do not have to stick around.
But you too.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next item up for discussion is item B, which is our facilities master plan.
Okay, hello. We have Melissa from HAIT. I'll say HK.
That's fine.
Is that okay? All right.
That's fully acceptable.
All right, so I will get the presentation to you up. So I'll just say, gosh, at the start of last school year, we engaged in discussion around that we just don't have a comprehensive facilities master plan. And there is funding out there that we can grab, and we need one of these to actually see what are our priorities. And not just for funding purposes, but just to understand what are the needs and assessments of now that we're deep into bond modernization, to see what the next steps are. But before I have you go, we were so busy, immediately jumped into recognitions, and then the counselors were eager. We didn't welcome Dale Wynn Spinks. And this was a good agenda item to say welcome Dale Wynn. So we're excited to have Dale Wynn join us. Great time to join at one of the best meetings. So just learning all of our facility practices. So this is a good time to review this. So we hire consult as HKIT as our consultants to do this comprehensive process. So I'll let Melissa just run with it.
Great.
Good.
Yes. So the actual master plan document is a 63-page document with quite a lot of information about the district goals, a lot more about kind of existing conditions. So here I took out pieces of that just to kind of give you a summary of what the master plan includes. So first, we just want to acknowledge the steering committee. So there were several people that are in this room here today that helped drive this process. And of course, Stuart, who is retired, but he was a big part of it. And then we also had a couple of the principals involved. Okay. So what is a master plan? So a master plan is a commitment to ensuring schools are safe, functional, and support student success today and the future. It is a roadmap for thoughtful long-term decision-making about the district campuses and facilities, and it helps align future investments with the educational mission and community expectations of OUSD. So it's typically in a 5 to 10 year range. So these projects that we're looking at now are within 5 to 10 years out. So we're not looking at doing this tomorrow. This isn't the stuff that's coming on this summer. So a little bit about our process. So as Ada said, we started this process at the beginning of the school year, so August of 2025, which included meeting with the steering committee and confirming the schedule. We also did some town halls. So we met at each school site. We met first with staff and then community and got lots of input from those folks. We also put out a survey to get additional feedback on facilities. And then we drafted some master plans. We got those master plan estimated. We presented that to the steering committee. And then we formed a smaller group to kind of prioritize the projects. And we'll go through that as we get through the presentation. So just to review some of the town hall specific feedback. So at Delray, there was discussion of flooding at their blacktop. They had something they called Lake Delray that they thought needed to be remedied. They also wanted more shade in their play area. I know we had some trees cut down due to some of the path of travel work. And a new play structure also out in the upper grades because that's quite old and worn. Glorietta discussed lighting, flexible furniture, and more outlets in the classrooms. The dumpster location was brought up. Of course, I drove by it the other day and there's now a gate in front of it, which is great. We don't have that eyesore anymore. So we're already checking things off the box. It's great. Sleepy Hollow discussed security concerns with the open campus and the hills in the background. TK Playground needs some help. It's old, dated, and really not functional for the uses. Wagner Ranch also discussed some of the perimeter fencing, security was a concern, particularly being on that busy street. They have, sometimes people might be walking through. They talked about their TK play space being undersized, a desire to replace portables. Orinda brought up some of the field conditions. They get muddy, there's pests, sometimes they're just not very usable. They wanted some updates to their fields. And another thing that came up was limited indoor eating space during rainy weather. So those were some of the highlights from our town hall specific feedback. Surveys, so these were some of the survey results. We did 2 surveys, parent and staff. The parents, the main items that they felt needed the most improvement were play fields and food service and general classrooms were the top 3. We also asked whether top needs or enhancements needed at their school, and they said they would really like to have the portables made into permanent classrooms and improve the play fields, and then potentially spaces to support specialized program. I think that was referring to a lot of times those specialized programs are in portables, and so that just having a better facilities for that, and then improved kitchen and food service. Staff survey, what they thought was working well was the appearance, the exterior. They said there's plenty of space for students to display their work. Natural daylighting, operable windows was perceived as really working well in the classroom. They did like that a lot of the classrooms do open directly to the outside so that they could potentially bring a student out there or students. There's places for students that can be noisy and engage in physical activity. There was a lot of compliments to
technology and IT in the campus in general, just having the right type of display, consistent wireless access, which is great. But they said what was not working is maybe clear markings to be able to navigate campuses, flexible furniture, the ability to control light levels. So the light fixtures in the classrooms are quite old. So that was kind of brought up as something that might be desirable to replace. Adaptability of the classroom layouts, indoor eating space for students, and sufficient power sources.
Melissa, the adaptability, is that furniture?
Yes. Here are the top needs or the spaces that need the most improvement according to staff. Safety and security, general classroom, and then play fields also ranked high among staff as well. And then we had our steering committee, which I introduced or noted earlier on in the presentation. And so some of the feedback we got from the steering committee was that the portables are old, they need to be replaced. Roofs and gutters need to be replaced. Sleepy Hollow is having that done this summer, but other campuses, they are old. There's some leaks, there's some gutters that are kind of falling apart. Fields are a concern. HVAC in spaces that did not get HVAC as a part of the last bond measure. Flooring also didn't fully get replaced in the last bond measure, so that was brought up as a concern. AV at multi-purpose buildings, replacing playgrounds, that's came up with several different campuses about some, and then kitchen improvements, particularly at Delray. Those were some of the highlights. Part of the facilities master plan, we also do a capacity and equity study. So these charts indicate how many classrooms are in each school, and then how many portables are in each school. And as you can see, Delray has the most. They are at 10 and OIS has 0. So ranges quite a bit. These do include the BAS portables. I did include that in that number.
Gen 7s are not included in portables.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So these are more of these temporary type buildings that were up on wood foundations. They're kind of easy to move and don't have a slab on grade, concrete slab. And we looked at some of the other spaces on campuses to compare sizes. So library sizes, NPR sizes, administration sizes. Some of these, this data is required when you are submitting to state for funding. They want to see all this information. Whether or not you need to use it for your particular projects is, might vary by district. So whether or not you're replacing a multi-purpose building, if you are, then you might want to take a look at this and really start to make sure that you're aligning with similar other campuses within your district, or same thing for library sizes and administration. Generally, you are, fairly close to each other when it comes to elementary school sizes, libraries. Wagner Ranch is bigger, OIS is bigger, but that makes sense. It's the middle school. In administration sizes, once again, the elementary schools are fairly close to each other. And then there's a jump at OIS, which makes sense. And then the big, it kind of highlights, you can see here at the multipurpose spaces as Wagner Ranch has quite a very big multipurpose space compared to the other schools. One of the things that we did put together as part of the steering committee early on is to kind of come up with some planning principles. And we use these as we talk to the community to kind of help guide the conversation. So some of the real big goals that we wanted to address within this facilities master plan was to promote student and staff health, preserve valuable school facilities, site and infrastructure, provide outstanding learning environments, and support outdoor spaces for learning and play. Now we get into the actual master plans. So you'll see as you go through, there's existing conditions, demo plan, and a construction plan for each of the sites. So here's existing for Delray. Yeah. And then demo is basically you'll see a theme here, demoing and removing all those temporary type portables, the ones that are up on wood foundations. getting rid of those. So those are the white ones with the black dash line around it. And then we can go to the new. And that is, for Delray, we have some of the existing classrooms we're showing modernization. That modernization includes new lighting, new flooring, and some other miscellaneous ads, powers in the classroom, for instance, those things that came up during the community engagement and conversations with the steering committee. We are showing major renovation of the kitchen at Delray. That kitchen hasn't been touched for quite a long time and needs some upgrades. We show that the spaces that did not get HVAC in the last bond measure would be getting HVAC. So that's the multi-purpose space, the administration space. And then we're showing new buildings to replace the portables. Those would be a modular type building, but on a slab on grade. So we use that as our basis for cost estimating, was a modular classroom building. We also show some site work, new playground in the center area, irrigation at the play fields, AC paving work. We also at renovating or reworking the parking lot out in the front for two reasons: to add additional staff parking at this campus, but also to potentially allow for a bus to enter into that parking lot and drop off students there. Cool. I think so, yeah. Unless someone asks questions. Here's Glorietta. So I think most people probably know these campuses really well, so we don't have to get into the details, but someone who isn't familiar with will use this to kind of familiarize themselves. And once again, we're looking at portables being removed. So we had 5 portables at the kind of south end of the campus that we're showing as being removed. And then for some of the work that we're looking to do in this campus, similar to Delray, modernizing the classrooms with new flooring, new lighting, HVAC at the multi-purpose building and admin spaces, new outdoor learning with shade structures. We did show some shade structures at Delray. I neglected to actually highlight that when we were on that site, but that would be at the outdoor eating space. We are showing new fencing to provide some security out at the front of the campus, upgrades to some of the play structures, new buildings to replace the portables. We did actually identify a new trash enclosure, but maybe that doesn't need to happen now, so. Sleepy Hollow existing conditions. And once again, we're removing the portables on that campus. Building new modular classroom buildings at that campus, doing the same type of modernization work at the existing classrooms, HVAC at admin, new play yard for the kinder, as well as the upper grades, new fencing for security to allow for BAS students to go to the playground that's over by the parking lot, as well as a fence along the toe of the hill, the back of the site. We also are showing a new restroom. That was one thing that came up when we spoke with the staff. We're just showing a little addition to the kinder area that will provide a restroom for the students, for the kinder students, or TKers. Okay. We have Wagner Ranch. Go to the next one. Demoing the portables. And then on this one, very similar scope that we talked about already. Some of the more unique features for this particular campus is to take that kinder classroom building, or it's TK, I believe it's the 2 classrooms, yes, in that area, and renovating that space so that we can actually fit 3 TK/kinder classrooms in that area. Those, if anyone's been in, they're kind of strange, kind of pie-shaped spaces with little restrooms in the center. And so maybe making that space a little more efficient. And then doing some some gates and fences. We are proposing, and it's in the estimate, some work to the garden area and the area, the nature area that's still part of the district. Doing some outdoor spaces and potentially doing kind of a learning center as well. Here's OIS. And you can go to there's no demo for OIS because we don't have portables, so we can stay up there on that one. Yeah, so some of the unique things here is we're looking at putting a new shade structure up at the top by the cafeteria or the kitchen. Renovating the multi-purpose space. Right now, the multi-purpose space isn't really used for indoor eating, and there was some discussion of maybe it could be if it was renovated. Redo the stage. It needs some attention. So we did add some additional renovation to the multi-purpose building for this campus as a master plan, as well as HVAC work at the multi-purpose building. For some of the new spaces, like the student services building, we're showing no work. We are also talking about putting an all-weather track over one of the fields and replacing the turf with artificial turf, and then replacing the irrigation on the other field. Okay. And so we, as I talked about, we sat down and we kind of said, okay, how are we going to sort all this? It was a hard job. So, we wanted to see, what would be the most immediate need that would really make the most impact to the schools. So these are some of the projects that were identified for that: roofs and gutters, flooring, furniture, restripe and repave the blacktop, outdoor learning areas, playfield irrigation, major renovation of the kitchens at OIS and Del Rey, exterior lighting, fences and gates, access points and switches, which we identify as either modernization, outdoor spaces, or safety scope.
Sorry, can you remind me, the OAS outdoor learning areas, is that the space between the buildings? Is that what you're?
So there's just a couple. So we identified, we actually identified the ones that are in between there, and then a couple of them we put shade structures. So not all of them have shade structures, but yes, that's what those outdoor learning spaces are. Priority 2 is interior lights. They don't have a lot of control, but they do the job they need to do. So we put that in priority 2. Repair and refresh cabinets, casework in the classrooms, AV upgrades at the NPRs, HVAC at the other spaces that didn't get HVACs. Now, a lot of those spaces, they have heating, of course, and then a lot of the admin spaces use some sort of like window unit or something to provide some AC. So, it could probably soldier on for a little bit longer. Sleepy Hollow TK play yard renovation, lunch shelter, that's at the OIS and at Del Rey. Wagner Ranch nature area improvements, major renovation of the Wagner Ranch TK building to make the 2 classrooms into 3, major renovation of the NPR at OIS, and there's a golf cart charging station and the 90s wing of OIS. And so it's not ideal to have the golf carts in that little area where students are. So one of the projects that we identified was to move that outside of that area. And so these are the remaining projects that at this time we feel like they could probably hold or wait. So replacement of the portables, they do the job that they need to do. So eventually need to get replaced, but maybe that's not the top priority. New restrooms, that's the one at Sleepy Hollow for the kinder yard. The demo portables obviously go along with the replacing of the portables. The Wagner Ranch Learning Center. So this is actually putting some buildings out there, some portable buildings to provide a learning center. The one that was identified in the priority 2 is more outdoor learning space. There's a walking path at Sleepy Hollow, all-weather track at OIS, 1st to 5th grade play yard renovations, new added blacktop. So this is like the other one was to actually just take and renovate what's there. This actually add blacktop to a couple of campuses. And the outdoor learning spaces at Glorietta and Sleepy Hollow, stage structure at outdoor learning, and major renovation of the library, and then the parking bus lane at Delray were all what we felt would be priority 3.
I just have a comment just on the, I don't know that we should be including the nature area stuff under Wagner Ranch. I feel like that should be a nature area versus the elementary school. It's a separate category.
Okay.
Just because that's how we treated it historically.
So all in this, several $1 million. Do we have the money, or do you have the money for it? No. So what's next? We're here to hopefully get this master plan adopted either today at our future board meeting. And then there's going to be some work to do around funding strategy. Right at this point, we know that there's a potential to get $14 million from the state. And as we talked about before, actually creating this master plan was essential to get that money. And then there might be some other strategies in the future. Often these projects are funded by facilities bond measures. There could be also other state money in the future, local grants. Those are typically not a ton of money, but they could potentially put something towards these projects. Community fundraising, which is I get great about, Orinda School District, the fact that there's been parent clubs that have been able to fund quite a lot of wonderful projects. So that's another potential funding source. And then as the funding does come available, we'll have to look at this a little bit closer and really see, okay, now we've got priority 1. What from priority 1 can actually fit within the money that you have? So we'll just keep doing that, keep refining, keep adjusting, and keep communicating throughout the process.
Melissa, can I just ask, when it comes to the slides of the finances, can you just explain briefly around the contractor markup, escalation, soft costs? I mean, some of these costs are really high. So,
Yes.
what, for example, jumped at me is that the cost of an all-weather track at OIS is pretty much the same as relocating golf cart charging stations. So just how do we get to these prices?
Yeah, so one thing that we had to do is we had to kind of pick a time, like when will these projects happen? So we did look out, I'm going to blank on how many years, was it 5 or 8 years away? So escalation at 27.3 is really a high number because we're looking at something so far out. So that's adds quite a bit. There's soft costs, which includes architectural fee, DSA fee, inspector fee, construction management fee, all the stuff that doesn't actually contribute to the building construction, the actual building materials and the assembly of those materials. And then the contractor markup is what you would just normally expect when any project that you come across, any of the bond measure projects that you've done or are doing will have a markup from the contractor. So we used all those numbers to base the cost at the end of the day, at the end of the spreadsheet. Any questions about that?
Thank you. So this is just on for discussion tonight. We're not taking action. Just have questions, comments from Melissa. I will say, I'll preface because I worked with you on this as well as Hillary was on that same committee. It's supposed to be kind of a living document in terms of how things are prioritized, and to wrap my head around it, because there's an awful lot on this list. I feel like that way, like there might be, depending on what funding comes available, that will determine what project might be done or not done, or what can come first or second, et cetera. Because it's just like, for me, difficult to think about having that much money at our disposal and then being able to employ it all at once. So it's going to have to be flexible, and it's meant to be, how long of a plan? 10 years?
5 to 10.
5 to 10. Yeah. So that's it. No.
Well, thank you to the committee for this very robust report. It's like an official wish list. Right? And so this is amazing. And the surveys that were done, which I found interesting, that parents and teachers were the complete opposites. right? Safety was teachers' priorities, teachers and staff, and playfields were parents.
They both felt playfields were important though, I guess.
They did, but it was like very like converse of each other. And I am curious in terms of financing some of this, since the city uses many of these facilities, and do they contribute to any of the? No, it's okay.
They contribute to ongoing maintenance of the field. There is a structure within the contract, like if tier one, if we, make this much money, then it goes towards additional like irrigation work or some bigger projects on the maintenance fields. If we make this certain level of money, then it could be a much bigger like renovation of the field. We've never hit that level. We're just barely making it enough to cover just some additional, like better, not even irrigation. They're just changing like what they're doing with the fields. I don't know, Mika, you're deep into the contract. I think that's what it says, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
Dylan, I think you're meeting with them, or have you met?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, there you go. To go through sort of what are the tiers, but we've never reached a level where they can actually contribute to a total overhaul of the field.
And then the facilities, they rent the facilities from the district, so they wouldn't help pay for like renovation of the NPR.
So the only Wagner Ranch NPR is co-owned, there's a contract, right? So after 4:00, 4:30, they actually rent out and take all the revenue.
And on the weekends. They
And
rent it out for the
weekends, yes.
basketball.
And that's only NPR Wagner Ranch. All the other ones we rent out through Facilitron. So it's out of CVO's office really and facilities. And we take that funding in. But this is our first year really with the new prices, the Facilitron to see how does that usage. It's not a significant portion of funding. We just sadly look over there. Yeah.
One question was, particularly for those who are on the committee, were there any particular debates, particularly between like, say, priority one and priority two of things of like which went into which list? Or was there a general agreement on the buckets?
I wouldn't say it's a general agreement.
No,
That's why I mentioned they're kind of fluid because it's really dependent on funding that would be available. And then the safety, I think, rose higher.
Yeah.
So you'll see multiples, of that stuff in there more than not. And then with some of the like blacktops and modernization work, that was either stuff that is already worked into a bit of the modernization work, correct? That's happening even this summer, particularly the blacktops. And then other things we're just sort of finishing off modernization that we had wanted to do through this bond anyway. And I think that's how those rose higher than say the one, the number two. I was, just for my thought process to share, the portables obviously came up a lot. I personally would love to see more permanent structures there. But the cost of them is just a lot. And there's supposed to be other things that would need to be addressed, including just how many kids do we really have on a campus and what space do we need and what portables really do need replacing versus we don't really need them, right? So.
I mean, compared to, I totally agree, all else being equal, it'd be great not to have portables, but they do provide a level of flexibility that's quite useful. And so, and some of these other things are also very high priority. So should the time come when we have funds to spend, some interesting conversations about it. So it's very helpful.
Yeah, and I think to that point, some of the things on priority two may be items that, we could have a grant for, like Wagner Ranch Nature Area, or the parent clubs may want to fundraise. So if the PCs fundraise, like a play yard renovation, that's still on priority two. That could be done before our top priority, which is the roofs, right? Because just of the availability of the funding.
Other questions or comments?
I think because we agendize this over 2 meetings to make sure that if there is input on changes that we could do it for the next meeting. So is there, we heard nature area should not be
Yeah, I'm just
the
thinking
Wagner
nature
should be
separate.
separate.
And then
And
just,
then-
this is a nit, actually. You've got priority 1 listed in the header on all 3 priorities. That's just
Oh, up here,
a
yeah.
little thing.
Yeah.
Good change.
Got it. And any other feedback on the potential changes?
Well, this will be made public, right? So I'm just wondering if some of these things that are like the scopes needs to be kind of defined. Like where you say access point and switches, you know, someone might not know, someone might not know what that actually is.
You can spell that more in the actual facilities master plan.
Oh, in the 65
Isn't it?
minute.
I mean, some of it, oh, if it's not.
Well, if it
then-
is, then.
Kevin was on our committee and he made sure that was listed as priority 1. And that is something that nobody else would have even noted, but it is to make sure that our network actually works. Could you explain what switches are?
Because the switches, we basically, it's the last piece of network infrastructure that needs to be modernized. And essentially they like these devices have, they need to have security patches so that they stay up to date. And the current switches we have they're going to run out of security patches at some point in the near future. So, they'll be operational, but it's risky at a certain point to keep them up. So that's what the access points are just like the actual devices that you connect to when you're in the room to connect to Wi-Fi.
So this is something like we would not be able to fundraise here
Yeah.
within
I
our
thought it
own
was actually
parents.
switches.
I know, yes, that's why I wanted to. But it is something that is actually, if we don't change it, our entire network will be jeopardized. So that's why it would be priority 1. Yes, cyber safety. Melissa, do you have enough to, whatever the adjustments are?
Yeah, absolutely. If there's anything else that comes up, just let me know and I'll make the adjustment.
I think this is a pretty big document to digest, so if anybody has feedback before next meeting.
Yeah, just let us know and then we'll pass it on to Melissa. Thank you so much, really appreciate it. That's a lot of input to put into this many slides, so thank you so much, really appreciate you having me.
Okay, is there any public comment?
There's no public comment.
Okay, so that will take us to item 8A, which is our resolutions. The first one being the resolution number 26-19, Day of the Teacher, May 13th, 2026. Brian?
All right, Day of the Teacher, California Education Code designates the second Wednesday in May as Day of the Teacher. With this resolution, we'd like to honor not only our exceptional teachers, but also our counselors, nurses, and specialists who are the core of our educational system. We're grateful for their tireless efforts in making a difference in the lives of our students today. And with that, you have the resolution to consider and review.
And before we review it, we'll read it out loud. It's fine. Eve, would you mind starting?
Sure. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Orinda Union School District acknowledges the vital influence teachers have on shaping the growth and development of students and the broader community. And
whereas we commend the outstanding and skilled certificated staff of our district whose dedication cultivates engaging, motivating, and supportive learning experiences for all students. And
whereas we recognize the steadfast commitment of our teachers who not only deliver high quality instruction, but also work collaboratively with colleagues, evaluate student progress, and provide the guidance, encouragement, and care essential for students to succeed academically and personally. And
whereas we celebrate the efforts of our teachers to foster inclusive and learning environments that support growth across academic, social, and emotional dimensions. And
whereas we value our teachers' dedication to lifelong learning, as shown through participation in advanced coursework, professional development, and achievement of higher degrees. And
whereas we acknowledge the ongoing efforts of our teachers in implementing California state standards and advancing educational excellence through active participation in professional learning communities. And
now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Orinda Union School District proudly recognizes and celebrates the significant contributions of our certificated staff and proclaims May 13, 2026 as California Day of the Teacher.
Thank you so much for reading this and will hopefully pass the resolution. I just think that tonight was so fun to see all those incredible teachers. I mean, there's just so much hard work and there's ultimate dedication, I think, for such an excellent district, and it is really because of what's happening in the classroom. So we're excited to celebrate our teachers.
Any other comments on this one?
No, just agree with everything I either just said.
Yeah, definitely like that happens on this night when we celebrated our staff. So is there any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay. Is there a motion for this one?
This is Hillary. I move that the board adopt resolution 2019 declaring May 13, 2026 as Day of Teacher.
Moved to I second. Trustee Phillips? Aye. Trustee Anantavant? Aye. Vice President Weiner?
Aye.
President Shogun?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, and next up is resolution 2618 classified school employee week, which will be May 17th through the 23rd, 2026.
All right, with this one, the California legislature acknowledges the vital contributions of our classified school employees and has designated 1 week in the month of May as Classified School Employee Week. Orinda Union's classified employees are the everyday heroes that make a lasting impact on our schools. With this resolution, we'd like to offer our sincere gratitude to all our classified employees for the work they do every day to make Orinda Union a great place to work and to learn. With that, you have the resolution to review, consider.
Thanks, Brian. Okay, and like the last one, we'll read this one out loud. Would you mind starting? All right.
Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Orinda Union School District recognizes that classified employees play a vital role in the success and well-being of our district and the academic, emotional, and social growth of our students. And
whereas our classified school employees work with unwavering dedication every day in partnership with their certificated colleagues to ensure that all students receive the best education possible, contributing to the development of a supportive and productive learning environment. And
whereas the classified staff in Orinda Union School District demonstrate extraordinary compassion, skill, knowledge, commitment, creativity, dedication, and patience in carrying out their diverse responsibilities, often going above and beyond the call of duty, particularly in these dynamic and challenging times within our schools. And
whereas classified employees embody the values of service, teamwork, and a strong commitment to the students and community, helping to create an atmosphere where all students feel safe, valued, and inspired to succeed. And
whereas the Board of Trustees sincerely values and appreciates the dedicated efforts of our classified school employees in promoting an inclusive environment, ensuring each student feels accepted, supported, and appreciated. And
now, therefore, be it resolved that the Orinda Union School District Board of Trustees hereby declares the week of May 17th through the 23rd, 2026 as Classified School Employee Week to honor and celebrate the extraordinary contributions of our classified staff.
Thank you.
I just want to say we saw a really diverse group. I mean, our classified population is such a diverse group of be it serving students directly, special education, or classrooms, or to those that are keeping our classrooms very safe. And we saw a representation of that tonight. So thank you for considering this resolution.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this forward. Again, I'm happy that it falls on the same night as our recognition.
I agree. Thank you.
All right. Any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay, seeing as there's none, is there a motion?
This is Vanita. I move that we approve resolution 26-18, Classified School Employee Week, May 17th to the 23rd, 2026.
I'll second. This is Hillary.
Trustee Phillips?
Aye.
Trustee Anantavant?
Aye.
Vice President Weiner?
Aye.
President Shogun?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, our last of the resolutions that we ask for recognition tonight is recognizing our public school volunteer. And I mean, we have such a tremendous parent community. Thank you all for being volunteers on the board as well. But I mean, you know, we heard tonight they fundraise for support of our facilities. They fundraise a tremendous amount of money to support our curriculum programs. And then they also volunteer in the classrooms, at lunch lines, and supervision. So, I mean, we are highly, highly dependent on our highly engaged parent community. So we just want to recognize them and thank them.
Thank you. And we'll read this one out loud too. So Eve, would you start us off again?
All right.
Whereas the success of our students and schools is greatly enhanced by the invaluable contributions of dedicated public school volunteers. And
Whereas the volunteers across the Orinda Union School District give generously of their time, talent, and resources to support students, teachers, staff, and school programs. And
Whereas volunteers serve in a wide variety of roles inside and beyond the classroom, coordinating events, supporting learning, serving on committees, and creating a strong sense of community. And
Whereas school volunteers model civic responsibility, compassion, and commitment, inspiring our students and strengthening our district. And
whereas volunteers enrich educational experiences and extend the capacity of our schools, ensuring that all students receive the support they need to thrive. And
whereas we recognize and celebrate the enduring impact of our volunteers, whose efforts help us fulfill our mission to provide a high-quality, well-rounded education to every student.
now therefore be it resolved that the Orinda Union School District Board of Trustees proclaims the week of April 20th to 24th, 2026 as Public School Volunteer Appreciation Week, recognizes the efforts of volunteers and extends its heartfelt appreciation to all Orinda Union School District volunteers for their support of our students and schools.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, another very important resolution. It's an awful lot of really wonderful work that's done by our volunteers. Appreciate all of that. And we'll recognize them next month.
Yes, we will.
Any other comments?
Just echo the thanks.
Any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay, then this is on for action. If there's a motion.
This is Hillary. I move that we approve Resolution 26-20, Public School Volunteer Appreciation Week, April 20th to 24th, 2026.
This is Benita.
Trustee Phillips? Aye. Trustee Anantavant?
Aye.
Vice President Weiner?
Aye.
President Jogan? Aye. Motion carries. Okay.
Okay, we have
last
a last resolution for the evening and you're not asking me to read it. But it is actually the first time we're bringing this resolution here and it is being brought by our partner districts as well and many districts across the state. So just as an overview, it really is a resolution in support of increasing base funding for public schools under the LCFF formula. LCFF has been around since 2013 now, and we can clearly see the effects in various districts, and it has had uneven effects on how the districts are funded. So this is part of a broader statewide conversation about school funding adequacy, not just equity. So I just want to state that we are in support of LCFF. It was a very important and positive shift in how California schools are funded. We also are philosophically truly supportive of how the additional resources are needed for students with greater needs. And that's what LCFF addresses. It talks about local control and it talks about, it provides additional funding to those students, for schools to educate students which have greater needs. The core issue of this is that the base funding is just not enough. So it has not kept pace with the real cost of education over time. Inflation and rising operational costs have eroded the purchasing power for over a decade. And this is not just unique in Orinda, it is a statewide structural issue. So our local impact for districts like ours, we are one of the lowest funded districts per student in the state. Last time when we examined this detailed data was when we ran for the parcel tax. We were the bottom 5th out of 1,000 school districts when it comes to LCFF funding. We also, on the flip side, operate in a very high cost region where staffing, housing, services all cost more than in many other districts. So the impact is real. We get increased pressure on class sizes and staffing. We get challenges in recruiting and retaining high quality educators. It's a strain on our programs, services, student supports. We are much more dependent on local parcel taxes, on local donations. So we're just putting more strain on our community to subsidize really the inadequacy in this base funding. So why this particular resolution and what it calls for? There was a legislative analyst office analysis done that in how it restructures it and supports a 7.24 increase to LCFF-based grant. So we are in support of that recommendation by the LAO's office. It would help, not fully restore, but it will help restore the lost purchasing power. It would strengthen our ability to maintain our programming without full dependency on our donations. And it would increase the base, the equity, because supplemental and concentration grants come on top of those bases for so many of those districts. Our message around with this resolution would be ensuring adequacy and equity in school funding. We believe that every student, regardless of their zip code, has access to high quality public education. And we are hoping to join other districts in advocating for this across the state to prioritize base funding in the budget and establish a more sustainable, inflation responsive model. So I present this resolution to you.
Thank you. There are questions or comments related to this?
I mean, I'll just say that I appreciate that this effort is happening. You know, talking since I've been on the board, it's been a conversation of, you know, how we can raise the base. So I appreciate that this initiative has happened to try this, like, you know, advocating for it.
I would say, I think I'm supportive of this particular initiative. My personal preference would be to combine the asking for more funding, because I do think it is actually incredibly important that we can recruit the best teachers and other staff to our school district. But I think ideally that will come in with a conversation of like how we can make sure that we're getting the best of the, you know, of the folks that are, you know, passionate about doing, you know, kind of coming into these professions and making sure that we're doing all the right things. That being said, I recognize that that's not on the table at the moment, and you know that's a longer conversation to be had. But I would that would be my if you know if the world were always in my mental model, I would like to have those conversations together. That being said, I do understand the pressure that you know we're obviously our district is under right now, and the things the aspects of this particular model that are not great for us, and for many other districts as well, and aren't necessarily serving you know, many of the kids and giving them the kinds of education that they need. So that's my sense.
I'm looking at the list of districts that have already joined this cause, and I'm just curious, why would a district not join?
Well, if I'm a district that's benefiting from a significant amount of supplemental and concentration dollars, and then you would probably advocate for additional funding to go towards those models, towards supplemental and concentration area funding based on unduplicated students versus putting in a base where it then stretches across all districts.
Yeah, I do not see Sarasota unified.
But if you have a high base of unduplicated pupils.
But if you have a certain pie of money at the state, what we're saying is take that pie and put it into a base. But if I'm a district that has a 70% unduplicated students, I'm going to say, no, take that pie and put it towards unduplicated.
Well, Denair
because they actually get
Unified,
more.
it has 72%, right?
The who?
Denair Unified, they have 72%. So that's
Sometimes it's the
what I'm saying,
size,
if
that's
you
what it is, yeah. But sometimes it's the size of the district, like it's K-8, rural districts are definitely much more negatively affected by the current allocation of the LCFF. Because there is a proposal at the legislature right now that not even count students as unduplicated, meaning count them as unique numbers. So if you're a foster home and English learner, you're going to count twice. So that's the pie of the money would be going really into supporting those numbers. And a district like ours is not in support of that. We would rather see it go towards the base.
Like Aida said, this has been brought to most of our local districts, if not all. And in that effort, I was on a call with Dr. Roth last week, along with our presidents from Orinda and Lafayette that had organized it. And it was really helpful. It's quite an advocacy movement that he's trying to create. And his website has a lot of information on it. He's also willing to talk to anyone if you want to set up a meeting with him.
Would love to.
But he has a lot of information just at the top, at the tip of his tongue. That does really make sense. And that's one reason I support this resolution. I think the idea of raising the base for everyone goes to having enough resources and also still, it does not diminish equity. And I understand why there's concentration grants and money moved around to allow for students with greater needs to have more resources. This just lifts everybody up. And he's much more eloquent and detailed on it. So if you want to know more about it, he has the time. We did speak a little bit about the unduplicated that he has in there in terms of the information, and seemed really excited that a number of districts with quite a high percentage of unduplicated students were signing on to this, just to show the broad range of support. And there are many districts across California, so many, tiny ones, big ones, and advocating, having the voice of the little ones heard a little more goes a long way.
Yeah.
And that's sort of where I think he's coming from.
And that website that is linked in our narrative has actually some really great graphs as well to see the effects of LCFF over the years on districts like ours. You can look it up by the district. And then if you really want to talk to Dr. Ra, he's right there. So appointments, he is available. Yes.
Any more discussion or comments? Okay. Is there any public comment?
There's no public comment.
Okay. So this resolution is on for action. Is there a motion?
Mrs. Hillary, I move that we approve resolution 26-21 in support of increasing the base.
Mrs. Benita, I second.
Trustee Phillips? Aye. Trustee Nandavat? Aye. Vice President Weiner? Aye. President Shogun? Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Item 8. Everybody good to keep moving along? Okay. It's our homework policy.
Okay, so Sarah and I will actually present on our year-long work to revise our homework policy. So we're excited to bring this. It's really fun to work through a messy process, continue working with the committee, and then actually have a product that we can present to you. So what we'll do is just go through a little bit about a purpose and goal of why we revised or brought this to the board or worked on this for the year. We wanted to highlight some policy revisions, work through the process, and then I'll go through the key shifts within the revised board policy, and then Sarah will take us through what the new administrative regulation would have, and as well as how do we actually implement the proposed changes. So why did we update the homework policy and why we're bringing this to the board? So I'll just do the bottom 2 bullets right now. First, there was a California Healthy Homework Act passed. We're a little bit ahead of it. We have about another year to work on it, but AB 299 really established that every district needs to have a homework board policy, which we do, but it needs to be rooted in evidence, research, and reflect the balanced life of school and home for wellness purposes. We also, at the same time, just outside of the California Healthy Homework Act, have heard through LCAP input. So when we established this 3-year LCAP, we committed to examining our homework policy. And it's mainly because we heard from parents and students about just the need for some consistency really around homework. So when we were examining, those were really the items that stuck out of why we needed to look at the new homework policy or revisions. A need for consistency across classrooms and schools. What we were hearing through our input is that students were having different experiences in homework depending on who their teacher is or which school they were in. So we wanted to bring in some consistency. We need to make sure that there's clear expectations for students, staff, and families of what the purpose of homework is, what should be going in it, how does it support learning, and we wanted to make sure that our homework is aligned to current research and best practices so that it's rooted in science of learning versus maybe what we knew as educators or as students. And really the emphasis is on balance. It's academic wellness, extracurriculars, so balance in life. So With that, we launched a process really starting immediately at the start of the school year. We had two different committees. We had a staff committee that was actively meeting throughout the year. We had Katie and Hillary as part of the committee. Katie and Hillary as part of the committee. So the staff committee met to really go through science, go through research, go through current practices, examine surveys. And they were consistent of all schools, diverse grade level representations, and we met multiple times in either after hours or half-day sessions. We had a parent work group that met 2 times and then had input as well, met at the start of the process to provide input, and then at the end of the process to really look at some revisions. We conducted review of current practices challenges. And again, I mentioned analysis of research. And then we wanted to make sure that whatever we come up with is actually aligned with California Healthy Homework Act. Out of the initial input, we had guiding principles that led or guided us through the process as we were implementing actually the revisions. We wanted to make sure that there was purpose in homework. That we were not just assigning homework to assign homework. So when we examined our policy and our AR, we wanted to make sure that it reflected that when we launched this, we want homework in the classrooms be purposeful and that it should always be aligned with classroom instruction. When we look at research around homework, which all educational research is slightly vague, but what it talks about homework is that it's leads to positive effects in learning and academic success if it is aligned to what the teacher is teaching in a classroom or student is learning, and if there is a purpose to that homework. We also wanted to focus on quality of homework. We often talk about the quantity, how much do students spend on homework, how many homework assignments are assigned, what is assigned, but we really want to make sure that what matters most is quality, not the minutes of the homework or the pages or how many spreadsheets or worksheets. Learning, we want to make sure that when we're assigning homework, homework should support independent learning and skill development. Homework is also most effective in a classroom when the student can actually do it themselves independently. So it should not be a struggle trying, and it shouldn't be a group work with the parents, right? It should be something that a student can accomplish independently. And then finally, that really should support students' maturity, that it should be appropriate to grade levels and student needs. The way we looked at significant research shows that homework actually does not support student learning in really early grades and sometimes can lead to really dislike of school. And as the students mature, it should grow in the amount of time and in quality of, or what kind of homework is being assigned as the students move on in their schools. Okay, so I will go through board policy, and the board has that revisions attached. But just some key shifts in the policy. We really wanted to move from general practice to clear purpose. As I already said, the policy now states that homework should be clearly defined as intentional and aligned to standards. So we should not be assigning any homework that is not related to what students are actually learning in the classroom. We moved from quantity to quality. So again, emphasis in the big picture and board policy is that homework should be purposeful, it should be engaging and research-based, and it should be focused on learning impact, not volume. And there's so many discussions around how many pages are appropriate when we should be actually really talking about what kind of books are you citing, what kind of reading, how does that support what you're doing in the classroom. From individual practice to system-wide consistency, we really saw a wide range of what kind of homework is assigned. There were schools that have no homework in first through third grade. There are schools that assign homework in TK. There are schools that assign a teacher. One classroom can be assigning all sort of group and projects, and next door that's done in the classroom. That's a really different experience for that student after hours. So we really, in the policy, go through that there is an expectation that there's going to be alignment within grade levels and vertical alignment and within course alikes. We also designate new homework-free time. No homework on the weekends or school breaks. We identify which school breaks, so we really don't want homework around Thanksgiving break, winter break, spring break. Students should enjoy their time with their family and rejuvenate. The weekend, one of the really great practices that our parents reported is, for example, assigning homework on a Monday or Tuesday and having it due the next Tuesday, or Friday to Friday. And that spans a weekend, which we're saying that's okay, because that's actually good practice, allows the parents to balance their students' homework or students to balance it. It's not mandated to be done over the weekend, but they can. Just moving on, a stronger focus on equity. This again goes to fair and consistent homework experiences for all students, independent on who their teacher is. And we really are asking for reduced reliance on parent support. So actually group projects are asked to not be assigned at home, which this caused a big yay from students at OIS who said, please don't make us do a group project. That's great. And then also we really don't want any group work or homework to be reliant on parents having to go and purchase materials. All of that should be provided in classrooms. So communication and transparency, we're asking that all work be clearly communicated. One, that the policy and regulation for that specific classroom, which should be aligned to this, is communicated at the start of the year, no later than back to school night. And then the individual homework is communicated so that students leaving, Mr. Sean's, fifth grade class, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Sean, leaving his chill classroom, know what is for homework, and so they can ask him questions before they leave. Or in secondary, also they have Google Classroom. We want all homework to be posted on Google Classroom so that students are not surprised that evening with some of the assignments. And then we refine some roles and responsibilities. We really want to increase ownership and independence of students. We want families just to be in supportive role, not be responsible for completion, and teachers to want to provide training and professional development around designing purposeful work and to coordinate the workload. So that's, board policy establishes the vision, admin reg, which we have not had up until now. So this is new administrative regulation, goes through how do you do this? Sarah?
All right, let's jump into the AR. So the key shifts we'll start out with, we'll talk about grade level expectations. So we had a lot of debate about what those should be in the committee. So in TK and kindergarten, we kind of broke it down by grade level spans in elementary. So TK and kindergarten is no assigned homework, but reading is encouraged. Grades 1 and 2, no more than 20 minutes a night. Grade 3, no more than 30 minutes a night. And those would include reading. And then grade 4 and 5, no more than 45 minutes a night, including reading. And then when we get to middle school, it states approximately 60 to 90 minutes, 60 to 90 minutes of a class per week. So for one class, 60 to 90 minutes you can expect for that week. So that's that developmental approach with research showing that in the younger grades, there's not a really huge benefit, not any benefit to homework. But as students age, we do see a little bit more benefit for kids practicing those skills at home during homework. And then when we get to that balanced workload piece, the AR is going to reiterate in more detail the vision of that board policy. It should be designed with consideration for student well-being, just knowing that our kids have lots of things to do outside of school, right? They may have sports, they have extracurriculars, they may want to spend time with their family. And so helping students have a balanced life, no homework during weekends or breaks, and then reiterating what I had already talked about, projects. So making sure that projects are student-owned and not parent-completed. And really being aware of that equity piece when it comes to projects that parents have to run out and buy a bunch of supplies for. Not every family can do that for a lot of different reasons, whether it be just due to finances or just the ability to go out because of time constraints. So recognizing that when you do have a project, you want to focus on doing it in class, and then we want to be providing those materials in class. And then when we go to explicit roles and responsibilities, so we've got explicit roles for district leadership, providing professional learning opportunities for teachers. We've got to review the policy and administrative regulation. We've got to give opportunities for teachers to collaborate, because it's also a big piece is the calibration amongst the grade level team or course alike team to make sure they're calibrating on what homework they are assigning. And then making sure teachers are aware of that research. The committee is very much aware of that research, but that knowledge lives within the committee right now. So making sure we're doing some PD around that next year, beginning of the year. And then our site level leaders are going to be monitoring the implementation and supporting teachers in that implementation. And then teachers obviously have a big role in the implementation, and students have a big role too. They have a big role in our regulation. They've got to, third grade. So students have to seek clarification when assignments are not understood. They should complete homework in a timely manner. They should manage time effectively, and they should communicate with teachers and parents and guardians when homework becomes overwhelming or cannot be completed within the established time guidelines. So those are really important things too for us to go over with our students about expectations. We all have roles in helping kids be successful. And then our parents and guardians are also encouraged to support their child and promote their students' own advocacy. And I think that's really it for the administrative regulation. If we can go to the next slide, really just lays out what many of us are familiar with. That board policy lays out the vision, right? And why we need this policy, the reasoning behind it, whereas the administrative regulation goes into the details and how we implement the policy. And then what does that implementation look like? So those steps would be implementation obviously is going to be happening in the next school year. So 26-27 school year. We'll be doing staff professional development on this come August. We will also be communicating to families at the start of the year and doing some professional, not professional development, but some learning opportunities for families. And then we will ask sites to monitor and review how the implementation is going. And that's another big piece in the regulation and the policy. I don't know if we touched on that yet, but is ongoing monitoring of how it's going so that we can continually improve. And then, so our next steps tonight, board discussion and action, finalize the policy and regulation, and then ultimately implement next year.
We are happy to answer questions about the process or the changes we recommend or anything else.
I'm happy to jump in. I'm super thrilled to see the framework that was used here. I think this is actually really helpful. We've talked about this quite a bit, and I think the principles here of ensuring that what we're doing is evidence-based, it's valuable to the students as they're learning, the stage at which they're learning, we're focusing on the things that matter most is great to through all the documents. I think my only question is really at the middle school level. It's been a long time since I've been in middle school, but I haven't been there yet. When we talk about like 90 minutes, and I know there's some people who would like to do more versus less, like 90 minutes per class for students who have, I mean, they could have probably not 7 classes, like maybe 6 max. That's still a fair amount of homework. And I feel like if 90 is sort of the average of what the teacher thinks they're assigning, there are going to be kids for whom that's just going to take even longer. And as we know what the school day schedule is at OIS, by the time kids get home, they have dinner. So they're not doing anything outside of school. It's just not, it's a lot. And just wondering how we can.
So a couple of things, we put in 60 to 90 depending, because we couldn't just go by grade level because some of our 6th graders take 7th grade 3 classes. So that's why we established sort of 60 to 90. I think when we start working with OIS staff, we can talk through, okay, 60 should be towards the 6th grade, 90. With that, when you look at their schedule, they're actually taking 2 electives, PE, and core is triple, for example, in
so we core
6th grade. So core should be really social studies and English, and that's only counted as a class.
Okay.
So they should not be having really more than 3 assignments. Should be math, science, language, or and not everybody takes language. So I think that's when we examined it that way, and the policy or reg, one of them specifically states you can go up to this time, but you actually can assign none. So you don't have to assign homework. So, you know, if I'm Leslie Millstone teaching digital design, I'm probably not gonna be assigning homework. Or PE, you're not gonna get. So I think it balances when we're just looking at the number of classes. And then just to your point, Eve, around not every student takes the same length of time, and sometimes it's by subject, right? Some good writers take a long time in math, and the other way around is that's part of the implementation at the start of the year we want to do is they're called homework audits. There's a couple of different ways to do it. One is you do it in a classroom, right? You know, we don't know sometimes how long our assignments take. So we actually do here's an no distraction, 28 middle schoolers, but no distractions, no TV, no podcasts, no music. You know, how long does this actually assignment take? And then really, then you can see, okay, an average is about 20 minutes. So when students are coming back and saying, well, it's taking me an hour and a half, you know that's not the case. That's one way to audit. The other way is you literally put like a little audit slip on your homework. And when you go home, and it took me 45 minutes for the math, I would say 45 minutes. And then teacher gets that feedback. So those are really working actually with Stanford Challenge Success Program. They have all these different homework audit ways that we can figure out, is our policy actually being implemented the way we want it to be? So that's what we would be rolling out in the fall.
Yeah, in addition to that, you're going to have situations where something does take a lot longer for certain kids, and it's in the policy is the idea of differentiating for kids who are going home and it doesn't take them 30 minutes, it takes them 60. And we're going to say, okay, the best practice is to stop at 30 and write that down and come back and let your teacher know. I worked for 30 and I could only do half of it.
And just because you just said that, is there any part of the policy that is about, I'm not sure if I heard it said up here, like homework can't be graded on correctness, but only on completeness? Or like, have we talked about that at all?
We didn't put that in there. We did say that homework should not be a big part of the grade. So at OIS actually already in our new grading policy that was rolled out this year, we've really minimized the value of homework grade because you don't know who's doing it, right? But we build up to the high school, so a little more at the middle school and then it builds up. What it does say in grading is that we really want students to give feedback or get feedback from teachers. And feedback doesn't have to be a graded homework. It could be, hey, you had these 5 homework math problems. We're going to review them, right? So, and when I talk to our students, that they didn't want it necessarily graded, but they want feedback. They don't want to do things if they don't get feedback on it, because then it's just like, why am I doing this, right? So it does address the feedback. Thou shalt give feedback, but gives a little variations on what that feedback could be, and then the grading is really minimized, especially on accuracy. It should be practice. You shouldn't be graded on practice.
Going back to what you said about OIS and homework and the amount of time and how you mentioned some teachers don't give homework. So then going to the equity piece, so then would you make sure that all, say, science teachers didn't give homework, all English?
So that's stated in both policy and AR is that there has to be alignment. So all science 6, if the agreement is no homework, then the agreement is no homework. But there should not be a variation from site to site, and that's explicitly stated.
Okay, and so the same thing like homework at Glorieta versus homework at Del Rey, it should all be
within the grade level. Yeah,
the same within the grade level.
Yeah, our survey actually showed that we have 2 schools that give way more homework than the other 2 elementary schools.
Mm-hmm.
So, which was a point of frustration. So we want to find a good balance.
Comments?
I mean, I don't have any specific questions since I was part of this process, but I'm pleased with the way this, well, first of all, the way the process, you know, having the interaction between the staff and separate with the parents. And there was a big shift from the very beginning until where we are now. And I just really appreciate that. I think this reflects a lot of that.
Yeah, same. Since I sat on the committee, I think the process was really well done. And there were a lot of voices that got heard to come up with this. The addition of being said, I think, is the most important here, to have flesh out those details that came up in the committee a lot. Just everyone has an idea, but if it's not written down, it could be a lot of ways of implementing it, right? And then alignment, which you just spoke to, I think came up, and I'm pleased to see that this directs teachers towards some alignment or schools towards alignment on that. Yeah, and I think it does reflect best practices, which even for myself, I think that I was leaning more on more homework and higher grade level kind of thing, but that, in looking at the data, which I appreciate you all bringing forward, and the research that, it's pretty clear what helps students succeed later on, whether it's not much homework, but it's helping with your study skills and organization to the later on grades where that homework does actually impact the learning. So thank you. I think it's in good shape.
That's great, thank you.
Okay, is there any public comment?
There's no public comment.
Okay, this is on for action tonight. There's a motion.
Sorry. This is Hillary. I move that we approve the revised board policy and new administrative regulation 6154 homework and
A second.
Is this Eve? I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Great, thank you so much.
All right, now we move on to Measure E&I implementation. Your first one is the notice of completion for Delray Elementary School modernization.
Yes, so this is to file the notice of completion for the Delray modernization. We are closed out with DSA. So DSA has issued their notice of certification. This is for notice of completion to the county. Do note that, yes, there are still several outstanding items at Delray that need to be addressed. Very few of them are within the original scope. The notable one are the trees that are being planted in front of the playground. Everything else is either a punch list or warranty item or something that is wholly outside of the DSA scope of modernization that we are doing as an addition to the project due to having the funds to do so. Also note that this is not necessarily an acceptance of the work itself. So the district does still hold the retention on the project. So if there are any items that, even if you file the notice of completion, contractually the district is still within the right to hold retention if items are not complete or non-conforming with the construction documents. So this does not absolve the contractor of any outstanding items.
so like the punch list.
Correct. So they are still coming back. Paint is still happening. It just keeps raining during every single break.
Yes.
Thank you. This makes sense. I appreciate the note about this doesn't come out of a punch list or any other detail like that. So thank you. Any other comments or questions?
And the trees are being planted this weekend.
Great. Yeah.
I think it's the rain.
Sundays, it's very likely.
Okay.
And is there any public comment?
No public comment. I gotta move to Monday, right?
This is on for action. Is there a motion?
This is Hillary. I move that we approve the notice of completion.
Anita, second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. All right, your next one is item B, the change order DSA fee for alterations to the ORIS 30s wing modernization.
So this is for additional fee on top of the original submission for the 30s wing. So in order to get the 30s wing off the ground, we wanted to get the initial set of drawings and plans that we had in front of DSA to get in line, so to speak. So that way, when the time came, we wouldn't be waiting for DSA to approve the work so we could start, since we wanted to get started during spring break. With that, some items were left out that we weren't sure if they would be necessary or not based on the layout and the use of the space, but we wanted to get all the structural and safety items in for review with DSA. So what ended up happening was, since that the spaces would all be occupied by either staff or students, that did require those spaces to be conditioned. So there was the addition of a mechanical system, so new HVAC for pretty much the entire front end of the 30s wing. So the addition of that increased the cost more than 30% of the original submission, which requires an additional assessment of fees. So that's what this is for. It's the additional fees for DSA review of the add-ons after an original submission.
Thank you. Comments or questions about this one? And we don't think there'll be other additional
alterations after that.
unless you'd like them.
But
No. There
There's
are,
no
there are
more funding for any other.
it's all we've got.
Okay, so does this goes hand in hand with the next item in terms of what
Correct.
was added to that scope? Right,
Yeah, we should have like
Okay.
the items, yeah.
okay, in which case that makes sense to me. Any other comments or questions about this? Okay, is there any public comment?
There's no public comment.
Right, that is on for action. Is there a motion?
Mrs. Hillary, that the board authorize payment for the increased DSA permit fees.
Mrs. Eve, I second it.
All in favor? Aye. Anita? Okay. All right, motion carries. All right, and then the next item being the change, sorry.
Yes,
the
so
change
this
order.
is the actual cost of the 30 swing modernization. As we discussed before, the original intent was to award it directly to Rodan as they were already performing the work as a measure of cost and time savings. They had, in discussion and planning, they had indicated they would have the capacity and staffing to be able to perform the work in conjunction with the 30 swing, and hence the awarding it to Rodan directly without putting it out for any sort of bid.
That's why it's a change order to the already modernization of OIS.
Correct. It's not technically part of the modernization, so it would be a change order to their original contract. This work was never in their original scope. So with that, the original budget was approximately 1.5 to 1.6 million. We went through several iterations of value engineering and tried to minimize and pare down as much of the renovation as possible. So in the primarily staff and facilities occupied spaces, some of the finishes and several items were removed. As we said, the addition of the mechanical system, the HVAC, is primarily the largest item of cost outside of the structural changes. So the removal of walls, doors, and rearranging of spaces. There are some additional items that were taken out to see what costs impact they would have. They were considered relatively small, so they were placed back in. Those are the additional alternate PCOs that were included in the board item. So those would be additional painting, doors, flooring. Effectively, the option was to keep everything in the rooms exactly as is. Or again, since the entire space was being updated anyway, at the very least, having some new paint and flooring would go a long way to kind of keeping the space up to date and congruent with the rest of the modernization. So all of the attached PCOs are combined into a single total cost of just under 1.6 million, which falls in line with what we were expecting during the estimating phase of design.
And I'll say the original plan actually did not have floors and doors, and we had just discussed that during spring break. But I mean, Katie and I just went through the building. I mean, it would have been a disaster, I think, if we didn't change those. Because this flooring is so old and I mean, it's just really.
Yeah, I was going to add that exact thing, because I did walk it as part of the facility committee recently before it started to be demoed. And I remember when this a while back, when we were looking at the modernization in particular, we were kind of cutting back things, and flooring was one of them. But in this space in particular, like it's varied, there's multiple types of flooring, it's all very old. Like if we're gonna go in there, they should lay down new flooring. So those kind of things to me make sense, having just been in that space.
So for example, in the former administration office at OAS, all of that casework and countertops, they would have been taken out. There's no flooring underneath it. So you would have gaps that would have been filled.
Even
with
the wall for the nurse's office too, right?
Correct. So it would have been filled with carpet from somewhere else across the hall. And it would have been, would not have been a little bit of
Stand where they're looking for.
That's not something we want to leave behind as we're putting in 1.6 million.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And then for the HVAC system, we went through 3 or 4 sessions with the mechanical engineer and the mechanical subcontractor in order to find the most efficient use of funds. The original mechanical system plan was about double the costs, and we were able to cut that in almost half by creative use of space. We are unfortunately losing some windows in those areas, but as they'll be putting in a drop ceiling much like this system here, so that everything can be held above and not everything has to be routed only on the roof, which also does avoid additional roof penetrations, in which case a roof of that age, we wanted to avoid putting any new holes in it. So that was a very successful exercise by the team.
Well, that's good. Yeah. Any other questions or comments about this one?
Continue to patch together our old buildings.
They're gonna
Right, yes.
be great. Thank you, Vince.
Yeah, having walked it, I think the space, like where the students can be in their area, student union, whatever, we thought that then this office space it's getting redone is gonna make it usable. And prior to demo, it's not all that useful anymore.
Are they currently doing work right now?
They start, yeah.
Yes, they have, they did start work in good faith, and they did proceed to get as much out of the way during spring break as possible. So most of the noisiest work that is supposed to occur, all the demolition, the removal, and the new framing has already been put in. It actually does put us slightly ahead for the summer work as well, as the windows on the 30s wing, at least half of the windows are now are going up as we speak.
I'll say one thing it's not in here is the furniture. So Sarah and Dylan are working through the furniture. Got some proposals around what should be in that new space.
In the student union
In the student union area, so so they're working on finalizing that. And then also working with Kevin and everyone here involved is around what should it look like on the other side too, so that's not part of this cost. So that will be coming at some point.
That's good. Okay, any public comment?
There's no public comment.
All right, this is on for action, so motion.
This is Bernita. I move we approve the change order for the OIS 30 building modernization.
I'll start.
Oh, go ahead. Good to see you. I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks, Vincent.
Thanks for coming out here.
Yeah, no worries at all.
For
Late one.
the late one. Yes, appreciate it.
No worries, happy to be here. Thank you all. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Perfect timing. Okay, that moves us on to item 10, which are our board policies. Items listed under the board policies section are typically updates and new policies or administrative regulations that have been recommended by the California School Boards Association. These policies are generally acted on by the Board of Trustees in one motion. There's no discussion of specific policies before the board vote unless a member of the board, staff, or public requests specific items to be discussed and or removed from the board policies section. It is understood that the administration recommends approval of all board policies as presented. Each item in the board policies section approved by the board shall be deemed to have been considered in full and adopted as recommended. Is there any public comment?
No comment.
Okay, so these are on for action. Is there a motion?
This is Hillary. I move that we approve board policies in 10B through D.
This is Bernita. I second.
All in favor? Aye.
It says left building.
Okay, that takes us to our communications and announcements. Oh, yay.
Bring out my voice. I've been sick all week. I was worried I wouldn't have a voice. I'm Charles Shannon, current president of the Orinda Educators Association, and it's a pleasure to be here. So happy to see all of you. I want to start out by saying the recognition, Brian, that you and Kelly put on, and whoever else is involved, is beautiful. It's very touching. It's one of my favorite times of the year as well. Because we know we have so many educators that are at that top tier doing the work here in the district. And we so appreciate all the dedication. And I wish we were limited to 90 minutes every day of extra work after hours, like in the work policy.
Oh,
That's what I meant.
yes, I got it.
You know what I mean, like how your day extends to bring the magic to the classroom. So we're about a month away from Teacher of the Year, and it's a time when we can think about how we can show our appreciation, not just for teachers, but I want to say tonight we're also showing our appreciation for staff, who are really the bedrock. They help us do the magic. They're a part of our team and everyone else in the district. So I want to say that our Our teachers are amazing. They're shaping the future. It's not just academics, but we know they work on the social emotional with our kids. And I mean, today I had a kid that said, I've got a little minor cut on my finger and blood's gushing out of her finger. She's like, I think I need a Band-Aid. And I'm like right there doing first aid, getting the gloves on, doing my thing. But, you know, just think about all the different roles we play in the classroom. And we weren't necessarily formally trained on a lot of the things that we do, but we've learned over the years through our experience, like how to meet all the needs of our kids. And they really rely on us for everything, right? Well, they're with us and we're with them a good part of their life, their life as a child. We spend more time with them than often their parents. So it's a really special bond that we have. It's an incredible experience. I always say, education is the most rewarding thing anyone could ever do, because you get to spend the time with these kids that you're shaping, beauty that they share with you every day, the incredible things that they say, the funny things that happen. Today I made a mistake. One of the kids said, "Don't forget growth mindset, Michelle, don't beat up on yourself." It was just so cute because, you know, they're hearing us, they're learning from us that we have to go easy on ourselves, work hard, but go easy, right? Be gentle. But today, when you had the recognition, I'm just thinking about the teacher of the year, or I'm not teacher of the year, I'm sorry. Celebrating teachers coming up in our staff, it really makes me think that celebrate each other every day. Yeah, it's not easy work, but it's purposeful, and it makes us feel like a life well lived. And I think that every day when I come to work, it's a perfect life. It's a life well lived. If I can do anything in this world, do something that's positive. And teaching is one of the most positive things that we can do. Or just working with our youth is one of the most positive things we can do. So thanks to our parents who invested in us, came to this community, continue to invest in the volunteer time and in all the donations they make. It's really making a difference. And I know we say it all the time, we really mean it, because we're one of the lowest funded districts in the state. We do have to rely on our parents, their generosity, and their work as volunteers. We couldn't do it without them. So it really takes a village, and we have to continue that. I know it's hard work. Every time there's another fundraising event like the walkathon coming up, we just have fun. We have fun. We know it's part of our gig. We have to do it because the state's not going to fill the gap. So we step up. We do what we need to do, and we have fun in the process. That's why I say when our teachers say, "Oh, another fundraising thing," and I'm like, let's just make it fun, because we have to do it. This is what we have to do until the adults in Sacramento realize that it's not fair. It's not fair that we're stretched so thin, not just in money, but in the time to raise the money, and it takes a toll. I hope we don't allow it to take too much of a toll, because our health is important. Our kids need us to be healthy. But it's a shame. It's like shame on Sacramento, shame on lawmakers. They need to figure out a funding system that, doesn't ebb and flow with, the economy. And there not being enough money in the system, given that it's an expensive place to live and everything costs so much. But I really wanted to also focus today. We've got some of the most billionaires of anywhere in the world here in the Bay Area. And I just really wish they would step up and donate money and resources to schools. We keep saying Sacramento, but I know we have so many billionaires who live in the Bay Area who really could open up their pocketbooks and, share some of the wealth that they have, even if it's not mandated by the state through initiatives. It's like, come on, you guys have a lot of money. Help us out. So I'd like to see more partnerships. Definitely. Anyway, I appreciate all of you. You're amazing. I always say the day that I decided I'm going to retire, I will miss this so much. Seeing just dedicated people every day, wanting to enrich communities instead of tearing them apart. So good work. Happy life. Yeah. And I want to say, John, congratulations. He got one of the awards, and he's always a pleasure to work with. So thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Okay, cabinet updates.
I think we've updated quite a bit tonight, so we'll just leave it.
All right, board reports. Do you have anything?
Yeah, sorry, let me just pull this up. The one thing I'll say is a follow-up to last time, and actually, I don't know if it's heard this yet, but we are about the school bus, the Long-Range school bus entity, and how we are working through towards getting a new process for the way the funds flow. We should provide more funding for our district. Lafayette has already taken this step and we're moving in the same direction. And it sounds like there is general agreement to use essentially the same MOU as Lafayette did and work with this. So I think that's good progress for us. A little bit more formal update about the next one of these.
Thanks. You got anything?
Last Friday, attended the One event, which was, put on by volunteers. So again, shout out to volunteers who worked really hard on putting together a great event. OIS Jazz Band, that was really wonderful to hear. I was like, these are middle schoolers. They were so good. They're so talented. But yeah, it was nice to be there and be around other community members and seeing people from all different schools, high schools, and middle schools, and elementary schools. And then Wednesday, OIS site visit.
I also enjoyed the one event, and likewise, I'm very impressed by the OIS Jazz Band. And it's nice to see John Nickerson and, like you said, Ben, just kind of, and Liz Dow's former board member, was one of the event coordinators. So a really nice event. Coming up this week, I have mayor's meeting tomorrow and then board coffee coming up this Thursday. And I think it's the middle of April already.
I have similar stuff. I got to go to the one event, which was nice. I think I haven't been able to go the last couple of years, so I got to go. And it was really well done. I went to that Wagner Ranch last week for a visit. It's a really positive visit. Felt like springtime in a good way. I attended the POISE meeting last Friday. As one of my committees, which is really nice. I really only do that like once a year, so it's nice to do that. And this Friday we have a scheduling meeting, right? Where do you go?
No.
Oh, it's sitting on my calendar, but I should delete that. I don't know why I said that. Yeah, moved.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, whoops. I think that's about it, other than end of the year stuff.
Heart attack.
No, I thought it was, but then it was still sitting on my personal calendar. Anyway, sorry about that. I'll move over. Okay, moving on. All right. Yes, okay. We'll move on to the consent calendar. Items listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and are acted on by the Board of Trustees in one motion. There's no discussion of these items before the board vote unless a member of the board, staff, or public requests specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent calendar. It is understood that the administration recommends approval on all consent items. Each item on the consent calendar approved by the board shall be deemed to have been considered in full and adopted as recommended. Is there any public comment?
There's no public comment.
Okay. Is there action?
This is Hillary. I move that we approve the consent calendar.
This is Benita, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Future agenda items?
Yeah, so we only have a couple meetings left. So May 11th, we're going to do another recognition, which is retirees, parent clubs. One, we'll hear from our parcel tax and CBOC annual reports, and we are bringing a school day schedule. Here we're in the midst of
I knew that part.
that. And then we'll have the facilities master plan for action. Talk about what that process could look like. And really, June meetings are about LCAP and the budgets.
Questions about that? Okay, that moves us on to adjournment. Is there a motion?
This is Hillary. I move that we adjourn.
This is Benita, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Being adjourned.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.